All right. We'll start in a few minutes. We'll wait until a couple more people show up. Let's see what happens. What's up, L? So, I don't remember if I told you, but Bob knows that I'm a big fan of. Oh, wow. I'm a big fan of. What's it going on? Of Shakespeare Abridged. How come that's not working right? Okay. So yeah. Very few people, except for Bob, know that I am a fan of the Shakespeare Abridged. What was it? Theater company. I forgot the Shakespeare Abridged. So, running around looking for more adventure books, I had found this little gem. It's on Steam. It's on sale right now. It's called To Be or Not to Be. It is Hamlet by William Shakespeare, written as a choose your own adventure book. This is so wrong. So I'll admit, I played 5 minutes into it, and I died. Just because I wanted to see what would happen. And I died somewhat... I died somewhat... I knew what I was going to do. I was going to die, and I died somewhat hilariously. So I'm going to do it for you guys on screen, so you get to see it too. It is too funny. But yeah. This is definitely Shakespeare Abridged. But what did they say was the thing? This was written by some guy. I forgot the guy's name. Let's say it, I guess. So, yes, I want narration. Because right now I don't know why my voice and everything is coming out like this. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, you'll get sick of the music because it will continue on a loop. I don't think there's any difference.
William Shakespeare, 1564
Let me know if you can hear the voice.
whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem, The Tragical History of Romeus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy. To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations, plus we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny York skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized this book back in olden times. They're there in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you went/go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure, assuming you don't read the book like 3 quadrillion times, at which point the adventures will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure, where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision, So you mark the pages you were just on, so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure. Choose your character. Man, what if I just read the acknowledgements instead?
So supposedly, Shakespeare chose his own character.
You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're going to jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult and you've already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. You ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends, tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend. Remind me again who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water, so heads up. Hamlet? He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Also, he's the Prince of Denmark. Hamlet has a +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. Hamlet Sr.? He's the King of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle in naps. Let's say +1 to each? Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia. Play as Hamlet. Play as Hamlet Sr.
So, I'm going to click Hamlet Sr.
You are King Hamlet. All of Denmark is under your command. Everything's going so great for you. At present, you are in Norway, where just this afternoon, you led Denmark's forces to an astounding victory during which you personally killed the Norwegian king. Stabbed him right through the head, you did. His eye popped out and rolled on the ground, and then you stepped on it. Whoa, your ass is bad. You are a badass. You decide after a day of being good at fighting, you should have a nap. You've earned it. You settle down in an orchard for some nappy times. During your delightful rest, your brother pours some poison in your ear, and you die. Surprise! You didn't know poisons work that way. Wow, you've barely made one choice so far, and you're dead already. Way to go, champ. You're really good at books, huh? It's just a stellar job you're doing here, Chuckles. The end. Okay, fine. I feel sorry for you. Here's a choice that you can choose. Become a ghost. Do not become a ghost.
So the funny thing is I went and said do not become a ghost, and it completely ended it there. And ended it like some kind of game show. So let's see become a ghost, which is part of the story technically.
Good news. The afterlife exists, and it's full of ghosts. You know this because you're now one of them. You get to spend all your time slamming doors, rattling chains, and telling on the person who killed you. But here's the thing. I, the author, told you, the reader, that your brother poured poison in your ear while you nap. But you, as Hamlet Sr., have no idea how you died. You slept through the whole thing, so you need to figure out who killed you if you're going to revenge yourself on your murderer, assuming you even were murdered. Because remember that, for all you know, you could have died of a heart attack. This is an example of dramatic irony. Only since we're in the second person, it's an amazing example of an entirely new species of dramatic irony. Something I'm going to call second person pronoun paradoxical autodramatic irony. You are now aware of information that you're not aware of. This should be fun. Except that you died of a heart attack. Listen in on people's conversations and see if any of them talk about how they totally killed you.
So do I accept that I died of a heart attack? Listen in on people's conversations. Oh, let's listen on and see people's conversations and see if any of them talk about how they totally killed you. I was like totally killed, man.
You hang around Norway for a bit, trying to listen in on what people are saying, but they're all speaking Norwegian. You only speak Danish, so understanding Norwegian is a little difficult. It all sounds like Swedish to you, which actually makes a lot of sense, since Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish are all related North Germanic languages, descended from early linguistic differentiation between regular Germanic speakers and North Germanic speakers around 200 AD. You nod your head, agreeing that all of this is both accurate and extremely interesting. While these three languages are generally supposed to be mutually intelligible, You find you can understand Norwegian speakers only if you're concentrating, which you are, and if they're speaking slowly and clearly, which they're not, as everyone is running around upset about war, and all these kings getting killed. Ironically, Norwegian speakers can understand Danish easier than Danish speakers understand Norwegian, but that doesn't help you much. That would only be useful if you were playing as a Norwegian king, whose ghost is stowed away on your army's boat headed back to Denmark. But I haven't given you that option, even though it would be extremely awesome. If you're wondering what happens to this vengeful ghost king, I can tell you only this. The answer exists in your imagination. But here's the good news. It turns out written Danish and written Norwegian are actually pretty similar. So you spend the next several nights haunting people, quietly reading their diaries while they sleep peacefully in their beds. And you don't know this, but ghosts do this all the time. Ghosts just love sneaking a peek at the secrets of the living. It takes a while, but you finally find the diary of someone who wrote, on the day you died, that she was wandering by a garden, minding her own business, when she saw some Danish guy pour something in some other Danish guy's ear. Hey, that sounds like what could have happened to you. But remember, you don't know that's exactly what happened to you because of the new irony we invented. Wake up this person and ask her about it. Wake up this person and hold up a piece of paper where you've written down a question asking her about it.
Oh boy. Which one should we choose? It would make sense that you would use the piece of paper. Or maybe we can't because we're a ghost and we can't use paper. I don't know which way it's gonna go. Okay, I'm recognizing the background music, and it is it's a church hymn. Oh my god, they're using church hymns.
You grab a piece of paper and write down the words, "Hey, I'm not here to kill you. I just want to know about that murder you maybe witnessed." But in Danish, of course. Haha. You gently shake the woman awake while holding the piece of paper up in front of her. She's freaked out initially. She was just woken up by a ghostly apparition from beyond the grave. But once she reads your note, she looks at you suspiciously and says, "For real?" You flip over the paper and write, "Yeah, I'm the guy that got killed maybe. And I guess I want to revenge my death or whatever. But please speak slowly as Norwegian is not my native language. I'm from Denmark." "Oh," the woman says in Danish. "I speak Danish too." "Kick-ass," you reply. She tells you what she saw and gives you a physical description of the guy. Unfortunately, the man answering to her description could only be one person, your brother, Claudius. Congratulations, my king. You now know what you know, so that whole second-person pronoun paradoxical auto-dramatic irony thing has been slain. You've been awarded 500 experience points, plus you've unlocked a new quest, Revenge Yourself on Claudius. You're feeling pretty chuffed about this whole situation. Okay, let's revenge your death. Your murderer is getting away with it in Denmark. Swim back to Denmark. Wait for the next boat back to Denmark.
Oh my god. Okay, this is a little weird and I kind of like it. It's not as adventurous as the last couple of games we've been through. Which, yeah, I gotta... I'll continue... I'll try to go through Death Trap Dungeon again one more time on Wednesday morning, but tomorrow is going to be dedicated to a different game. Oh my god. So what do you think? Try to swim back? I'm going to see what it says about swimming back. Yeah, see, I would wait for the boat too, but I want to see what it says about swimming back. I mean, I'm already dead. So...
It's like 200 kilometers between the two nations. You know that, right? Apparently not. So you start to swim back to Denmark. But it's a lot of work to keep your body corporeal so that you can swim. So eventually you get tired and stop. For a while, you float above the water, but that gets boring. So for most of the journey, you float down to the ocean floor and travel along it. Hey, there's a sunken pirate ship here. Hey, there might be treasure in it. Examine pirate ship. Ignore it. Just arrive in Denmark.
Seriously? Do it. Do it. Do it. All right, I will examine. Gotta do it.
Man, it's awesome. And it's so cool to be an underwater explorer who doesn't need to breathe. I mean, it's kind of hard to see things without a light source, but your ghostly body glows a little when you want it to, so it's not bad. The pirate ship itself seems recently sunk. There are bodies trapped below decks, and yeah, that's unpleasant. The ocean bacteria haven't really started decomposing them yet. Bodies, man. Being corporeal, man. I don't know. You find the treasure room, and it's empty. It seems like the ship was attacked, raided, and then sunk. Somewhere up above your head, sailing on the surface of the great ocean Atlantic, is a really tough pirate ship that's just looking for treasure and/or trouble. Too bad you're already dead, huh? But even if you were alive, what does a ghost need with money anyway? So I guess this has kind of been a pointless but still awesome endeavor. You explored the ocean bottom and found a sunken ship. Don't let anyone tell you that's not awesome. Okay, after several more days of very slow travel that we just skipped over because it got boring, you're back on Denmark shores. Arrive in Denmark. You know what? Go back and explore the ocean some more. The ocean rules.
Okay, so did you notice the little marker thing with the woman? The woman had a machine gun. She had a Tommy gun in the little marker thing.
You make it back to Denmark. The first thing you want to do is track down your brother to take revenge. Turns out, that's really easy because he's in the first place you check, the royal court. He's there with your widow, Gertrude. Weird. They're acting all close and stuff. Oh well, he's probably just trying to comfort her after your untimely death. Ha! Brothers are really great. Though, maybe not. Listen in on what they're saying. Ignore what they're saying. I'm certain there's nothing untoward going on.
Of course you want to listen into what they're saying.
Hey, Gertrude,
Says Claudius.
I sure am happy that we married each other, even if it was so soon after your first husband died under mysterious circumstances.
Whoa, that certainly was, in terms of exposition, a very efficient sentence. You decide instantly that your initial revenge plan, haunt a mirror so that instead of Claudius's reflection, he sees you, and then you mirror his movements, so he's not really sure what's going on, is needlessly complex and stupid. Dude killed you and married your widow. Since you are from olden times, you have an extremely old-fashioned sense of ownership over female sexuality, so this really gets stuck in your craw. Instead of spooking Claudius, you decide to kill Claudius, complete the quest. Get your son to kill Claudius instead.
Okay, Elle, you and your other brother. Oh my god. Yeah, I have no comment about you and your other brother. Okay? No comment at all. I want to hear Bob chime in on this one. It's a kill Claudius, complete the quest. Get your son to kill Claudius. Well, how about we try to kill him? You want to try to kill him? I'm going to try to kill him and see what happens.
This is awesome, and it's going to go great, because who better to know how to kill someone than someone who has recently been through that getting killed to death process themselves. You wait until Claudius is sleeping, next to your beloved Gertrude for some reason. Huh, that's weird. Then wake him up by tapping him on the forehead a bit.
Hey, it's me,
You whisper.
your brother,
Do it.
the one you murdered.
Ah, crap.
Claudius whispers back.
Ghosts are real?
Real pissed at you, anyway.
You reply.
Listen, I'll cut to the chase. We are from a time where an eye for an eye is considered to be a good thing to build a justice system around. So I am here to kill you.
How?
Claudius asks, his eyes wide, terrified.
Oh, geez, so many ways.
You say, counting them off on your fingers.
I could startle you and make you have a heart attack, but that takes time. I could throw a pot at your head until you die, but that lacks grace. Instead, check this out.
You move your ghost body so it's floating right above Claudius. He stares at you, his eyes wide.
I'm sorry.
He whispers.
Way too late for that.
You reply. You lower yourself to him, face to face, and keep going. His face dominates your field of vision, and then you're inside his skull, inside the pink of his brain, his blood darkly obscuring your sight. You sink slowly deeper and deeper into him, lining up your ghost body with his regular body, until you are just about occupying exactly the same space. Then you make yourself corporeal. What happens next happens so quickly and with such force that it's hard to describe. But Claudius explodes everywhere, captures most of it. I mean, you're fine, but man is this disgusting. Literally disgusting. Gertrude wakes up, dripping in gore, screaming. You, my friend, have achieved revenge. You roll over onto your back and apologize to Gertrude. You explain over her screams what happened, and you tell her that you still love her, even though she married your brother mere weeks after you died. But you can't be with her anymore, you say. You tell her you need to go find your own path.
Sorry about the bad.
You say, floating up through the roof. You spend the rest of the afterlife acting as an immortal judge from beyond the grave, exploding those who have committed the most egregious crimes, merely blowing the hands off those who have been awful people, but still, you feel, deserve a second chance. People whisper your name in fear. Criminals are a cowardly, superstitious lot after all, and it works out pretty good for you. You do a lot of good work for a lot of people, and yep, it turns out that blowing up bad guys never does get old. The end.
Wow, that was kind of graphic. It's time for the Hamill meter? Yeah, okay, whatever. So Bilbetto, oh my god, Bilbetto. So the thing is that a couple of us have seen it and I've mentioned it. Have you seen your stats disadvantage? Have you ever seen Shakespeare Abridged, the complete works of William Shakespeare Abridged? If not, you have to go on YouTube and find the clips of it. It is funny as hell. Poisons misused, 12 choices made, times where you were. Oh. Times you were not. What the hell does that mean? Yes, Shakespeare Abridged. You have to watch it. Oh my god. You'll appreciate it. The Romeo and Juliet part's nice. The parts in between are okay. But the last part where it's Hamlet Abridged, that's a good one. Okay, so let's okay. I guess we get to restart, since that was kind of quick. So for those of you who haven't seen this, we'll go through this again, since Bilbetto just came on. Yes, turn on narration, thank you.
William Shakespeare, 1564 AD to whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem, The Tragical History of Romulus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy, To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations, plus we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny York skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized his book back in olden times. They're there in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you went/go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure, assuming you don't read the book like 3 quadrillion times, at which point the adventures will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision, so you mark the pages you were just on, so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure. Choose your character. Man, what if I just read the acknowledgments instead? You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult and you've already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. You ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends, tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend. Remind me again who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water, so heads up. Hamlet? He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Also, he's the Prince of Denmark. Hamlet has a +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. Hamlet Sr.? He's the King of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle in naps. Let's say +1 to each? Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia. Play as Hamlet. Play as Hamlet Sr.
Alright, so I think... You know what? We cut your emo team, so you know what? We'll do it again. Well, not again. Let's choose Ophelia, I guess. Yeah, let's choose Ophelia. Yeah. And then we'll do Hamlet last.
Right, you're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great. Only it's been hard doing the long-distance thing while you've both been off at university. And while you've loved studying capital S science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital U undeclared, it hasn't been easy. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since, you know, his dad died. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason it stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk, trying to think of something you could give him that would help with that, a way of cheering him up a little, remind him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature, he wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes throughout the day. But to do that, you'd need some way of measuring heat, and a way of transporting it through the castle, perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door. "Who is it?" you call. "It's me," says your brother. "Come on, let me in." Let him in. Tell him you're busy.
Okay.
You open the door for your brother. "You can come in," you say, "but I don't want to hear any opinions about my personal life." "If you sleep with Hamlet, you're a slut," he says. Slam the door in his face. Invite him to enter your room.
Oh, good. Alright. What do? You want to slam the door in his face? You want to invite him in? Oh god, I just had to do that. It's too funny. To be totally honest, I barely remember details of Hamlet. I barely do. I'm trying to see if I recognize the music. What's that do?
Okay. You let him into your room. He sits down on the bed and pats the empty space beside him. You choose to remain standing. "Listen," he says. "I know you like Hamlet, but he's a prince, so he's gonna have to marry someone of his own rank." "Who said anything about marriage?" you reply. "I'm happy with Hamlet,
and he's happy with me. We're having fun. Nobody's talking about marriage.
That's another thing, he says. Look, if you have sex before marriage, then you'll be ruined for other men and nobody will ever want you. He's only dating you because he wants sex. Don't sex him, because I'm your brother and I'm telling you not to.
Throw him out of your room and slam the door in his face. Sit down beside him, for some reason, and tell him that he makes a lot of sense, somehow, and you'll do as he says.
Oh my god, this is so wrong. Yeah. I want to see how it tries to go through the action. It's too funny. It's like the replayability of this is nice because we know what goes on. We know what goes on. So, yeah, I want to see what happens just because. Just because.
Really? Really? Okay. You sit down on the bed and tell him you'll do as he says, and that you sincerely appreciate his meddling in your personal life. And then you go on to say that if you're going to abstain from sex before marriage, then he should be careful too, because he sleeps around way more than you do. And it's going to be one heck of a sexual double standard if you're damaged goods, and he's totally fine. That's right, I didn't even give you a choice about saying that or not, because you keep choosing the stupid options. Guess you're just going to have to deal with it, huh? In any case, there's a knock on your door, and before you can answer, your father, Polonius, opens the door.
Normally when you knock, you wait for someone to let you in, Dad.
You say.
You're an idiot if you think Hamlet loves you.
He says. Then he notices Laertes is in your room too.
Oh, hey Laertes. Have fun on your trip. To thine own self be true.
Laertes nods.
I already told her she's slutty,
He says. Kick them both out and slam the door in their faces. I guess, smile and nod and pat the empty spot on the bed beside you and Laertes, inviting Polonius to sit down too, because that is something a person would do.
So you had so many chances to kick them out. I don't know. This is just too funny. I just have to listen to the comedy.
Polonius sits down on the bed beside you.
So, you guys were talking about Hamlet, huh?
He asks. Your brother nods, and Polonius turns to face you.
Hamlet only likes you because you're smoking hot.
He says.
You're an idiot if you believe him when he says you're a great and wonderful and special person. He'll say anything to get in your pants. He said that you're a wonderful person, right?
You agree that he has said, and written, some very beautiful things about you, and that this means a lot to you.
That proves it. Listen, you're too dumb to understand what I'm saying, so I'm just going to order you to do the following. Stop seeing him, never speak to him again, and put all thoughts of him out of your head.
Slap him across the face and tell him you're not dumb, and you can recognize sincere emotion in a sexual partner when you see it. Tell him you'll obey, and then call him your lord. And follow him meekly out of the room? Agree with everything he and Laertes have said, because all that stuff I wrote earlier about you being an independent woman in charge of her own destiny sounds pretty dumb, actually. And you'd better do whatever someone else tells you to, because anyone other than you probably knows better about your own life than you do, right? Look, I am now trying to think of the dumbest thing you can do. Please, I beg you, do not choose this option.
Oh god, this game is awesome. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it through with the skulls just because, you know, this is basically a translation now of Hamlet from Ophelia's point of view. So we'll see this. I want to see this and then we'll play it again going against the skulls. We'll see what happens.
Okay, you do all that stuff. Listen, I'm going to cut our losses here. You're not allowed to be Ophelia for a while. Be Hamlet.
Seriously? Oh, I'll have to see how that works out later.
You, Hamlet, Prince of all Denmark, are now sitting in your bedroom and playing solitaire for hours and hours and hours and hours, which is a pretty colossally useless waste of your time, especially since you keep cheating. A 5 goes on top of a 3? Hamlet, really? Anyway, at this point, we're 15 games in, and wow, if you're not careful, people might start saying that your tragic flaw is, I don't know, inaction. Eventually the sun goes down, and it's almost 11:30, which hopefully you remember as the appointed hour Horatio told you about, wherein a ghost keeps showing up to bother him. Time to go meet that ghost, huh? meet up with Horatio, and bust some myths about actual ghosts being real. You and Horatio go to where he saw the ghost the first time.
Now we play the waiting game.
Says Horatio. He's interrupted by the sound of trumpets. You look at him and raise an eyebrow.
They make that noise to warn everyone that King Claudius is getting wasted,
He says.
Those trumpets go off every night around this time.
He sighs.
Denmark.
He says. At that exact moment, something insanely crazy happens. What the frig? I'll tell you what the frig. A ghost is here. Look, ghost.
Look, ghost. What a choice.
Don't freak out, but right now you're staring cold in the face of a specter. You can't even imagine how crazy this whole situation is. If you're getting too scared, read this next clause over and over until you're not insane with fear anymore. Everything will be okay. All right, okay, we can do this. With your last shred of sanity, you quickly glance at the ghost, and then you worry that if you stare at the ghost too hard, your brain will realize it's looking at something so insanely impossible that you'll just black out. Anyway, this ghost. You can see through it, but only a little. It's weird. And I'll tell you what the frig else. This ghost does look like your dad, and he's getting closer. Stare at the ghost intently and black out as your mind shuts down. Don't stare at the ghost too intently and try to figure out what it wants. Run away.
Yeah, let's follow how I really want to follow
say goodbye to Horatio and go kill Claudius. Go home for nappy times. You go home and nap. The next morning it rains, so you don't leave your room. Then the next morning after that, the ground is all muddy, and you think maybe you'd leave footsteps that could be traced back to you. And anyway, long story short, several days have gone by and you haven't done a thing. To continue doing nothing for another several days, return to the top of this page and read it again. Well, enough's enough. Time to go murder Claudius. Go see Ophelia. She's smart. Maybe she has some ideas on how to commit some good murders.
To continue doing nothing for another several days return. So that's what he does. Okay, that's it. Honestly. Let's see what happens with Ophelia. Oh, goody. Happy times.
You go down to Ophelia's place and knock on her door.
Who is it?
She calls. It's me, sweetie, you say, opening the door and stepping into her room. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see her. You run up and throw your arms around her and you kiss. It's just like old times. You hold her at arm's length and look into her eyes. Listen, you say, and then you... Go murder Claudius. Go on to say, I need your help with something. Unbutton your jacket, foul your stockings, take your garters off and grab Ophelia by the wrist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah.
Okay. You do that. Ophelia looks confused during this whole production.
What's wrong, Hamlet?
She says, concerned.
Why are you fouling your stockings?
Tell her you don't know why you're doing that, apologize, and ask her to help with murdering your uncle. You know what? This is not going as well as I'd hoped. Tell Ophelia you don't know why you're wasting your time either. Excuse yourself and go murder Claudius. Continue holding her wrist and move your other hand to your forehead as if you might faint while staring at her intensely. These are some stellar choices you're making here, champ. Okay, you do the crazy things. Ophelia keeps staring at you in confusion. Finally, you sigh, as big as you can, 3 times in a row. What do these sighs mean? Ophelia doesn't know. I don't know, and neither do you. It's like you think you've saved your game earlier, so now you can just do stupid stuff without consequences. But you can't save a game in real life, silly. So now you've got to live with the consequences of these choices. And here's one of those consequences. Ophelia's love for you has taken 15 damage. Lucky for you, she still loves you a whole heck of a lot. Eventually, you run out of sighs and get up and leave. But rather than walking out of the room like a regular person, you look over your shoulder, lock eyes with her, and walk out of the room and around the corner without ever breaking that eye contact. You're lucky you didn't walk into a wall. You know what? I think you've made enough choices for a while. Move over. I'm driving. You decide to go see what Claudius is up to.
I have to replay this and see if I can get Ophelia to help me kill him. I want to see this.
So you walk in on your mom and fake dad as they're trying to run the country. But it turns out they were talking about you anyway. Polonius is there too. He's talking to you like you're touched in the head. Hey, he thinks you're crazy. Maybe that's because of all the dumb decisions you've been making. So, in an effort to save this, we're going to assume that you were just pretending to be crazy. Because that way, all of this kinda makes sense, and nobody would ever suspect a crazy person of committing a murder, right? This is literally the best option we've got left. This is what you've reduced us to. I've gone back and rewritten the story so that, in your talk with Horatio, now you say, I might act crazy for a while, just be cool. You can go back and check, it's totally there. Okay, so it turns out Polonius considers himself a master riddle master, and he's going to ask you 3 riddles to determine if you're sane or not. Riddle the first.
Do you know who I am?
Since you're now just acting crazy, this gets a little easier. Normally, I'd give you the choice between a reasonable answer and a crazy answer, but I figure now you want to pick the reasonable one just to screw things up, and I swear to God there will be a method to your madness if it kills me. So here are your options.
Oh my god.
Say, I don't know who you are. Maybe you're a pimp? I know you're looking for the option to say, yeah, you're Polonius. Here, but you know what? I like being in charge. Say, I don't know who you are. Maybe you're a pimp?
Go back and see if we wrote the start. Okay, so that's what oh, I just thought of something. Yeah, let's go and...
You tell Polonius that you don't actually know who he is, but maybe he's a pimp. He doesn't get that you are, or rather that I am, rather cleverly trying to suggest that you suspect he's been trying to mess with Ophelia in order to get to you. It goes entirely over his head. Anyway, he seems satisfied with your answer, which is great. Polonius puts to you his riddle the second.
What have you been reading lately?
He says. Answer with the exact words I want you to say. That's right. Fall in line, baby. You haven't touched a book since you came home from university on funeral/wedding break, so you answer by making up a book you've been reading called Old Men Are Gross and Dumb. It's about how old men are gross and dumb. You conclude by saying that Polonius would be the same age as you, if people age backwards. Oh, snap! Polonius agrees that this is probably the case. Finally, he challenges you with the final of his 3 riddles.
Would you like to go for a walk outside?
You sure would. You say you'd like to go walk outside. Straight into your grave. It's that last bit of crazy that really sells it. Somehow, Polonius thinks you're actually saying something really significant about how we're all really dying from the moment we're born. He observes that in madness, you're actually speaking the truth. Hey, your answers seem to have helped him reach the conclusion we wanted in regards to your sanity. Polonius says he'd better be going, and you say nothing would make you happier except if you somehow literally died right now. And then you motorboat your lips and flick your index finger over them, making a sound. Yep, he definitely thinks you're crazy. So, I hope you're happy. I have fixed this as best I can, and remember, we're just fake crazy now, okay? Okay, you can drive again. As Polonius leaves, your friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern enter the room. What? You thought these guys were still back at university? This is awesome. Greet your friends with high fives. Greet your friends by slapping them on the back. Greet your friends with hugs all around. Let's not get carried away. Just walk up, say hi, and ask them how it's going.
Oh God. I want this guy to make a video game or a choice game like this just on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Just those 2. I want to see what happens if he can write something with them. Oh my God.
How have you been, gentlemen? You say. I've been okay, except for, you know, the nightmares. Anyway, what brings you here? They look at each other. What do you mean what brings us here? Why don't we instead talk about your, plans and motivations? Rosencrantz says. Your face falls. Man, you knew it. Claudius sent for them. They're here to spy on you. Oh, really? Come on, guys. Were you sent here to spy on me, you say? Well, yeah, Rosencrantz replies. Kinda? Frig, man, I knew it, you say. Look, I'll make it easy on you. I know I've been all emo lately and mopey, and even though we don't have the word for it yet, I'm pretty sure I'm what you'd call clinically depressed. That's all. You sigh, and then look at them with a small smile. I guess I'm quite the piece of work, huh? You say. Would you care to explain that in more detail? Rosencrantz says. You reply, as a matter of fact, I would. No, man, didn't you hear? I'm clinically depressed. You are inspired. You clear your throat and hold out one hand in front of you. You look Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the eyes, one after the other. What a piece of work is a man, you say, choosing your words and punctuation carefully. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving how express and admirable, in action how like an angel, in apprehension how like a god. Your friends nod. Humans are pretty great. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me. You break off as Guildenstern interrupts you. Gay, he says. I said man delights not me, idiot, you say. Nor woman neither, though you seem to think. This time you're interrupted by Rosencrantz. Asexual, he says. You look at your friends. Anyway, whatever, you say. I've been depressed, but it's great to see you guys. Homophobia and asexual phobia aside. Oh, hey, says Guildenstern, suddenly remembering something. We met an author on the boat over. We invited her to come say hi. An author? This is really, really exciting. And who should walk through the door just as Guildenstern stops talking? Why, it's the very author they just mentioned. How perfect. Having her show up now keeps this narrative moving forward at a nice clip, and avoids any awkward downtime, where you'd otherwise all just sit around in a circle waiting for someone to show up and talk to you. Huh. Nicely done, narrator of this story, aka me. Talk to author. The three of you and the author get to talking, and she's really great. It turns out she's Christina Marlowe, the author of The Murder of Gonzago, a The Adventures Being Chosen by You story. Can you murder your brother Gonzago and then, playing as your dead brother's son, murder your usurping uncle? I sure hope so. Choose from over 300 different possible endings. It's one of your favorite books, and you tell her so, excitedly asking questions about characters and motivation, and how she did that thing with the choices. While the four of you talk, Polonius walks into the room and tries to work his way into the conversation. But whatever, nobody here likes him. Christina doesn't make any attempt to include him, and that makes you love her even more. You start quoting your favorite passage to her. It's the bit from the back cover, and she takes over when you forget some of the words. It goes like this. You are still really mad that your dad was killed by his brother. You decide
That you should murder him for revenge. And that, my friend, is a really good idea. Do you decide to wait to murder him?
No, shout you, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern in unison. Christina smiles. Polonius mutters,
This is boring.
but nobody cares.
Excellent. Then you sneak into his room at night and stab him in the neck. A huge fountain of blood erupts from his neck under such pressure that it bursts through the ceiling and forms a glorious red geyser above the roof. Some kid walking by sees the geyser and says, "Whoa." And while he's saying the "oh" part of "whoa," blood lands in his open mouth. It's so awesome. You have earned 1,000 points. And the "whoa" kid also earned 50 points.
The three of you laugh and cheer and applaud, while Christina smiles politely and Polonius stands around with his arms crossed.
Whatever. I wanted to wait before killing him.
He grumbles. Christina recited her book with such heartfelt emotion that you actually feel pretty bad about not murdering your own uncle yet. Wait a minute. That gives you an idea. Go murder your uncle. Instead of murdering your uncle, go grab your copy of the book. Then you can get it signed, and then you can see if you can get Claudius to read it, and then if he chooses the murder your brother path, and then if he looks guilty, you'll know he did it even though a ghost already investigated it and told you he did. Okay, but one thing at a time, buddy. First, you go back to your room and get your copy of the book for Christina to sign, which she does. To Hamlet, best wishes. I hope you like to read these words that I wrote on a piece of paper. Cheers, Christina, she writes. Amazing. It's perfect. And now you've got the perfect book to entrap your uncle. You excuse yourself and go back to your room to flip through Gonzago again. You get absorbed in the adventure, and a few playthroughs later, you're convinced. It really is a great book. And it should work perfectly for your plan. Now all you need to do is find Claudius. I'm pretty sure he's in the royal court, dude. Go to the royal court. Nap for a while. You go to the royal court and it's deserted? Practically, anyway. It kind of looks like maybe Ophelia is there in the corner reading a book. But please, it's not like you have time to make certain. Well, this sucks. You had this perfect plan ready, but if Claudius isn't around, then he can't read the book and the whole thing is useless and stupid, and you hate it. You feel some introspection coming on. Yes. Oh man, this is going to be a big one. It's going to all boil down to this. Is it even worth living in a world where things don't always go your way? Or to put it differently, being alive is good, or maybe being dead is good. Or to put it a third, more copulatastic way, to be or not to be. Man, this is the big one, Hamlet. This is the speech this book is named after. I guess you'd better talk it out now. Choose wisely.
It's so
You
wrong.
clear your throat and raise one hand in front of you. To be. Not to be. This is what you say to nobody in particular. To be or not to be. That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep, to say we end the heartache, and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. Man, nicely done, Hamlet. Hey, wait a minute. Ophelia's here. You say hi to Ophelia, but she's acting all upset, trying to give back the presents and all the love letters that you sent her over your relationship. Weird. It looks like someone's convinced her that you're not marriage material after all. To be fair, you did just finish talking out loud about killing yourself. Huh. And though I know you're now frantically looking for the whatever man, she's just doing this because chicks be crazy option, Hamlet, you are nothing if not classy. I'm not going to give it to you. Listen, I'm going to help you out. You think Ophelia's crazy, but maybe she's just acting crazy. In considering that possibility, you think to yourself that Ophelia doesn't have any real reason for being as upset as she appears to be. Sure, you've kind of ignored her for a few weeks, which was selfish and jerky. But on the other hand, this isn't the first time you've been caught up in something, and you're sure she can handle it as she has before, with understanding, and not by, abandoning the relationship entirely in some stupid castle room. So maybe it is entirely possible that she's being fake crazy too. Maybe. Maybe because she's figured things out, and also wants to murder Claudius. You decide you need a way to see if she's faking crazy, while you're simultaneously also faking crazy, without revealing to anyone who may or may not be listening in that you're both actually just faking the crazy. Is there a code phrase or something you can use?
Okay, this is a little too
Say,
complicated.
the wolf stalks
now.
the quiet evening prey. Say, I never loved you. Say, a hip hop, a hippie to the hip hip hop.
Oh God, I want to leave it up to you guys. I kind of want to go through, how Shakespeare actually wrote it in the translation, but I so want to do the last one. Oh my God. This is too much. This is way too much. Yeah. God. It's like I want to choose all the funny stuff later, but I don't know. Go full on nuts.
What? She says, surprised. You repeat yourself. I said a hip, hop, a hippie to the hip hip hop. Without missing a beat, Ophelia jumps in with,
And you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie, say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie the beat.
You know now for certain she's faking her craziness because she'd never joke about tight rhymes. And she knows you're faking it too because while those rhymes were insane, you'd have to be in full command of your mental faculties to produce them. And it's perfect because anyone listening in would simply think the two of you are making crazy noises to each other. They would not realize that what they hear is just a test of sanity itself. Ophelia has joined your party. Tell Ophelia about your murder book plan.
Wait, what? Wait, okay, so we finally veered off from the normal Shakespeare Hamlet plot. Okay, this is fun. This is cool. I like that.
You pull Ophelia into a privacy closet and tell her about your suspicions and your plan to reveal Claudius as a murderer. And while she's not super enthused about it, it turns out that yes, she has some questions about this whole thing she'd like answered too, and this plan could help with that. She says she'll watch Claudius with you as he reads the book. She's in, and you're working on a project together, which is great. You've missed this. You've missed Ophelia. You tell her that.
I know we've both been busy with personal projects lately, she says, and I'm sorry. I should have brought you into my investigation sooner rather than ignoring you. I get so wrapped up in things sometimes.
It's okay, you say. I did the exact same thing. I really had no idea you were also looking into Claudius, but we'll figure this out together. You look at her for a long moment. We're cool, right, Ophelia? I mean, like, our relationship?
We're cool,
She says, and you kiss. Nice. The next morning, you both wake up early to show Claudius the book. Show Claudius the book. First thing in the morning, you show up to the royal court. You look out at the assembled courtiers and see that everyone's here. Your mom and stepdad, Polonius, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, a bunch of people you've never met, Ophelia, the whole gang. You're still looking around when Horatio comes up behind you and slaps you on the back in an expertly executed maneuver. Bro times, he says. How's it going, bro times? Good, you say. Listen, can you do me a favor?
Bro times?
You explain that you're going to be watching Claudius closely, but ask if maybe he could keep an eye on him too as he reads. You're, really good at stuff, you say, wishing that there was somehow a better way to put that. He agrees that he's pretty great at stuff, and consents to do some of that watching stuff for you. All right, there's nothing left to do, Hamlet. It's go time. Hey, Claudius, you say, brandishing your signed copy of Gonzago. Why don't you read this book today?
I certainly don't see why not.
He says, and you pass him the book. Now all that's left is to decide where to sit. Sit at Ophelia's feet. Ask to lay in her lap, in the sexy sense, and remind her that she has genitals. Stand behind the king so you can see what choices he makes as he reads, and thereby figure out if he's guilty or not.
What? Sit at Ophelia's feet, ask to lay in her lap in the sexy sense, and remind her that she still has genitals. What the hell? What guy would not choose that one? Stand behind the king so you can see what choices he makes as he reads, and thereby figure out if he's guilty or not. Oh my god. Which one do I choose? It's so hard. Genitals or murder. It's so hard to choose between genitals and murder. You know? Why? Why give me these big decisions to make? These giant decisions in life to make? Genitals or murder? What the hell? What do you guys think? I know it's so wrong. I just stick with Shakespeare. Okay, we'll stick with Shakespeare. That's true. The hip hop hibbity. Oh, that was. I like that. I like that veer off there.
You know what? No. Just no.
What?
When you write your own book, you can fill it in with all the let's have sex in front of mom and dad and haha, women have different parts than men jokes you want. But this is my book, and I'm unilaterally deciding right now that you don't get to do this.
What?
Instead, you decide to go stand behind your stepdad and watch a read.
That's wrong.
How's that taste?
That's
Does it
a
taste like
tease.
compromise?
It's a tease.
Because it shouldn't. It should taste like falling in line. Stand behind your stepdad.
And that is a tease.
You walk around behind the throne so you can look over his shoulder as he reads. You figure that helps your whole act crazy thing, because you'd have to be crazy to not know how annoying this is. You are now Claudius, King of Denmark. Your nephew is standing behind you being really annoying. Hamlet has just given you a book to read and it looks pretty good actually. And it's perfect timing, because one of the royal court's favorite activities is to listen to you read a book out loud, because it's history times and there are no computers yet. You clear your throat and hold up the book so that everyone in the audience can see.
Let us begin.
You say, bringing the book down and reading the cover.
This story is called The Murder of Gonzago, The Adventure is Being Chosen by You story.
You look up.
The title goes on for a while after that, but my first choice is going to be to skip to the first page.
You say. There is a smattering of polite laughter. Begin reading.
Oh my god, look at this! Isn't this such a rip-off? Oh my god, this is such a rip-off. The murder of Gonzago and the adventure is being chosen by you. Story. You can murder your brother Gonzago and then playing as your dead brother's son murder your usurping uncle? I sure hope so. Choose from over 300 different possible endings. Oh my god, this is awesome.
You are Battle Lord Pete, or as you prefer to be called, Dragon Master 3000, since you are the master of 3000 dragons. You are amazing because of all the dragons you control, plus you wear the armor of a skeleton warrior, and you wield the battle axe that has the Latin phrase, facta non verba, written on it, in blood. You know what that means? That means deeds, not words.
Holy crap, Claudius. This book is already awesome.
You've been feeling a little jealous lately because your brother Gonzago gets to be king, and it occurs to you, maybe if you killed him and married his wife, you could be king instead. Maybe you should do that, or maybe you should just go slay some skeleton warriors.
Go kill your brother. Kill skeletons. You choose the go kill your brother option. Behind you, Hamlet seems to get interested in your choices. Wait a second. You remind yourself that you did actually just kill your brother, and so maybe reliving the murder in front of the court, through the medium of high literature, is not the greatest idea. On the other hand, adventure beckons. Say, oh wait, I meant to choose that skeleton thing, and turn to that page instead. Onward to adventure and also murder. You announce that you really did intend to choose this option. Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, man, I knew it. You read out loud the text on the page.
You find your brother Gonzago sleeping in a garden. Gardens are really super boring, so it makes sense that he fell asleep.
You hear your audience murmur in agreement.
Sneaking up on your brother, you notice that he's sleeping on his side. You have some poison in your pocket. Do you hold his nose and pour the poison into his mouth? Pour the poison into his ear? Or realize that murder is terrible, leave, and go kill skeletons instead? They're basically already dead.
If you're trying not to get caught, I really think you should go kill some skeletons. Poison in the mouth. Poison in the ear. Go kill skeletons instead.
Okay, we'll follow the story. And then I'm going to have another playthrough where I'm going to try to make it like completely veer off.
You turn to the appropriate page.
You pour the poison into his ear. Like all sleeping people, your brother doesn't wake up when cold liquids are poured directly into his ear hole, so this whole thing goes surprisingly well. Also, who knew that the ears were really the best way to introduce poison into the body? You and I did, obviously. So I guess any medical doctors in the audience who are about to say, excuse me, but I studied human bods for 6 years at the university level, can straight up go suck a lemon. Your bro is dead. Congratulations. Poisons really do work that quickly. And you have just ended a life. Perhaps you'd like to assume your brother's throne now as well.
Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, man, that's exactly what I suspected, and this has allowed me to confirm my suspicions perfectly. Nice one, Claudius. Hamlet now believes you murdered his father. It seems you have two choices. You can throw the book down, yell that you hate it, and run out of the room. Or, since an innocent person would not actually react that way, you can just continue playing as if nothing's wrong, thereby not instantly confirming your guilt, and instead allow your choices to be read as simple chance. Run out of the room. Continue playing as if nothing's wrong.
Interesting. No, we're gonna follow Hamlet. We'll follow Hamlet. I have to do this again and do the crazy choices.
You tear out of the room, throwing the book behind you, leaving Hamlet and your beloved Gertrude alone in front of a very confused crowd. Today's not going very well for you, huh? You run into your room in tears and lock the door behind you and throw your face into your pillow and cry. Well, Claudius, there's no two ways about it. You globbed up big back there. I think you'd better be Hamlet for a while, huh? You are Hamlet. You just saw your stepfather confirm his guilt about killing your father because he read a book and chose the options that the murderer would have chosen in real life. He's definitely guilty. This is entirely reasonable. There is absolutely no other conceivable explanation for what you just saw. After Claudius tore out of the room, your mother followed him, and after she left, everyone else left too. leaving the room empty but for you, Ophelia, and Horatio. Did you see that? He totally chose the murdery options, and then he freaked out, you say, really excited. There's no denying that, says Horatio. This means the spooky ghost was correct, you say. Ophelia looks at you for a moment and then opens her mouth to speak. Wait, hold on. I can't remember. You've made a lot of crazy choices. Did you and Ophelia break up the last time you saw her? Yeah, man, we broke up. Actually, before we started reading that book within a book, Ophelia told me we were cool, so we're definitely cool. Not only did we not break up, I actually was Ophelia before Claudius started reading the book. To tell you the truth, not only did we not break up, but she said she wants to marry me and that I'm the handsomest man she ever did meet. She explained that if you looked up sexy in the dictionary, there'd be a picture of me with the caption, "We put this here because we knew you wouldn't want to die without ever having seen such a hunky chunk of man." I'm sorry to hear it. I mean, it makes sense, but sorry about your feelings, buddy. Okay, so you just said, this means the spooky ghost was correct? And Ophelia has looked at you strangely, and now she's speaking.
A ghost?
She says.
You're crazy.
Then she looks at Horatio and says,
You're crazy too.
and then she looks at you again, sighs, and says,
I don't even know why I'm here.
and leaves, shoving past Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the doorway. Looks like you two are still broken up, which makes you sad, but on the plus side, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are totally awesome. Bros before woes. You're about to greet your best bros with your choice of high fives, slaps on the back, or hugs all around, when Guildenstern holds up his hand and speaks.
Your mom wants to see you.
He says,
As you know, in this time period, if you want to talk to someone, you have to literally walk over to where they are and chat them up, which I can hardly believe. Anyway, she's lazy, so she wants you to walk to her instead. Dude, she said she's astonished by your behavior.
Rosencrantz adds. Astonished isn't real slang, you say.
Just trying it out.
Rosencrantz says, and you high-five to linguistic experimentation. Well, I guess I'm off to see her, you say. Just then, Polonius enters the room and says,
Hey, your mother wants to see you.
I know! Nobody wants you here, Polonius, you yell at him. God, I could just stab you through a curtain. Hey, that gives you an idea. Go stab Polonius through a curtain. Go stab the king, which is what you wanted to do in the first place. Go talk to your mom.
I love this comedic translation of the whole thing.
On your way to your mom's room, you pass by the church. You live in a very fancy castle. Were you aware of that? And who should be there engrossed in prayer but Claudius? I guess after he ran off to his room, he decided to go to church to pray instead. He's such a wiener. Wait a minute. You could totally kill him in a church. How badass is that? Man, pretty badass. Let's kill Claudius in the church. No time for murders now. I've got a date with my mom.
That doesn't sound right, even though that's what it was. I've got a date with my mom. Yeah, let's do that.
You find Claudius engrossed in prayer, which is completely silent, so you have no idea what he's praying about. Probably he's feeling guilty about the murder he did, huh? The murder of your dad? The murder that makes you so mad you want to commit the murder act on him? You unsheath your sword and raise it above his head. But wait, if he's praying right now, then doesn't that mean that, according to religion, his soul is pure with all its sins confessed? If you kill him, he'll die with his soul more pure than that of your father when he died. Hardly seems fair, does it? Wait, is it still cool to murder a jerk if they're praying? Is there a page in the Bible on that or something? Better not kill him now at this perfect opportunity, because it's really important what happens to him after he dies. Haha, nice try, Claudius. Prayer doesn't work that way. What time is it? Oh wow, would you look at that? The day's barely started and already it's 1:15 stabs the clock.
I would want to...
Okay,
We'll
you
try
walk away
next
from
run.
the perfect chance for murder and go
Next
see your
run.
mom instead. Don't worry, I get it. You're afraid that if you kill Claudius, the book will end, and you don't want it to be over yet. I have nobody to blame but myself, I suppose. I wrote an adventure that was simply too awesome. Anyway, onward to an adventure that is so awesome, I hope it never ends and this book becomes a prison for both of us. Go talk to your mom. Hey mom, what's up? You say. She jumps back from the curtain she was just messing with. Moms, am I right? Okay, I'm going to interrupt the story here to tell you that this isn't going to go well for you no matter what you do. I'm spinning around a chair so it's backwards, and I'm sitting on it, straddling the back of the chair with my legs, so you know we're about to have some real talk. You know how in the story you've been choosing the crazy options and doing some crazy stuff? Here's the thing. Sometimes people do that in real life, with their own actual real-life lives. I don't know why, but they do it, and it happens. Just throwing this out there, but your mom has married her husband's brother murderer, and literally served appetizers left over from his funeral at the wedding. This is an actual thing she, a queen of comfortable, can certainly afford more appetizers means, decided to do. She's not in the best frame of mind, and I've been minimizing her role in the story as much as possible, in order not to embarrass her and to give her some space. But you're talking to her now, and there's not much I can do to avoid it. Try to understand if she acts crazy. Okay, lecture over. I'm turning the chair back to its normal orientation. We don't have to rap about our feelings anymore.
Hey, Hamlet.
Gertrude says.
Listen, you were a dick when you messed up Claudius's reading earlier.
I didn't mess up anything, you say. He's the one who read the murdery options. If anyone messed up, it's you, because you married Dad's brother, and that's messed up, Mom. I thought we were going to be nice to her. Your mom looks at you like she's seeing you for the first time.
What are you going to do? Murder me? Are you going to murder me?
Your mom asks. Terrific. No, Mom, I'm not going to murder you, you say, holding your palms out in front of you in what you hope reads as a be cool motion. Why would you even think that? Oh, is it because I'm wearing a sword? Listen, all the princes wear swords these days. Help! She screams at the top of her lungs. A voice from behind the curtain says, What?
Help! Help!
It seems your mom has a spy eavesdropping on this little conversation. Remember what I said before about giving her the benefit of the doubt? This is kind of the perfect chance to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Tell her you'll talk to her later when she's A, less crazy, and B, you can talk in private. Show her how non-murderous you are by killing whoever's behind the curtain. I need to learn to stop giving you gag options, because you keep taking them. Joke's on me, I guess. Anyway, you throw being nice to the woman who gave birth to you out the window, and you give the curtain the old stabby-me-doo, and kill whoever's behind it.
Lo, I am slain,
he says. Though it kind of sounds like, lol, I am slain, which you think would have been funnier. But wait a second, the voice sounds like Polonius?
What have you done?
Screams your mother. Thinking quickly, you say, nothing as bad as killing a king and marrying his wife.
What? I didn't murder anyone.
She says. Okay, no, obviously, you say. But Claudius did, and then you married him. Besides, maybe I thought the guy behind the curtain was Claudius, and therefore I was doing a good deed.
How is it a good deed to kill my husband?
Asked your mom.
And besides, didn't you see him praying on your way here? We both know he's in the church. He can't be in two places at once.
You say. Turning away from the body, you start yelling at your mom, saying how great Dad was, how awful Claudius is, and how she traded the best dude ever for the worst dude ever in time, and finally, how she's pretty dumb and awful and too old for love anyway. You say all these things to your own mother. You reduce her to tears.
You've made me feel horrible about my marriage,
she says pitifully. When you have sex, it's awful, and it makes the bed all greasy, you reply.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
Suddenly, a ghost appears. Twist. Talk to ghost. It's the ghost of your dad, like from before,
Didn't I ask you to kill Claudius?
the ghost says.
So far, all you've done is watch someone else read a book and then kill your girlfriend's dad.
It's complicated, you say.
Who are you talking to?
Asks Gertrude. Mom, I'm talking to the ghost of my dead dad, you yell. I talked to him before and everyone saw him then. I don't know why you can't see him now. I don't know what his deal is.
Ah, geez, you're crazy. My son is bonkers.
Your mom says to herself, drying her tears. To be fair, you do look a little crazy. Ghost Dad reminds you that you're supposed to be murdering Claudius, not Polonius, and he doesn't really see how cussing out his widow is helping anything. Be nice to her, he says.
Also,
He says,
I'm pretty sure she's conflicted about this whole, marriage to my brother thing that I guess is going on. So maybe you could talk to her about that.
But Dad, you say.
Hamlet?
He says, frowning as he disappears. Fine, you say. Hey, Mom, how's it going? Listen, stop having sex with Claudius, okay? She slaps you across the face. Maybe that's why people don't usually discuss sex lives with their moms. Who knows? Look, Mom, I'm not really crazy, but don't tell anyone, okay? You say, gingerly touching your face where she hit you. What is crazy is what you've been doing. This marriage to your husband's brother, it's gross. We all think it's gross. I know you're not happy about it. I know that, Mom. Hamlet, she begins, but you cut her off. It's not too late, Mom. If you can't be good, maybe tonight you can just pretend to be good, and then keep pretending to be good night after night, and it'll get easier. And by pretend to be good, I mean make yourself unavailable to Claudius sexually and emotionally. Your mom's crying again, but quietly. She looks up at you. All right, she says. All right. I'm proud of you, Mom, you say. Listen, I've got to go. I kind of killed Polonius by accident, and I'm gonna go lay low for a while. Okay, she says. Toodles. Tell her that it would be very unfortunate if she told Claudius that you're just faking crazy, and as a consequence of that had an accident that broke her neck.
What?
On second thought, leave without saying that. You finish up this tender moment by threatening the woman who gave birth to you, and leave. Oh, Hamlet, what are we going to do with you, Hamlet? On your way out the door, you bump into your bros, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. You want to get out of here, you say, and they concede that they would like to party on a boat. You know what? That sounds nice. Sort of give everyone space, you know, while also standing around on a positively buoyant vessel. It sounds real nice. There's a boat headed for England in just a few hours, you say. You know this because boats to England are kind of a big deal. You send some servants to clean up crazy old dead Polonius and another to be there for your mother, and you pack your bags. A few hours later, you and your bros are partying on a boat. Party boat!
Party boat? Really? Party boat?
Oh crap, you forgot to tell Ophelia about her dad. Well, I can't get off this party boat now. Even if you broke up recently, you should at least console Ophelia over her loss, especially since you were kinda involved in his accidental death. But instead, you're running away and partying on a boat. I'm calling it, you are the worst boyfriend and or ex-boyfriend ever. But you're on this boat and it's set sail for England, so there's not much you can do. Try to party as best you can, given the circumstances.
Seriously?
As the boat sails for England, you catch sight of a huge army sailing towards Poland. There has to be an entire military corps on board. I'm serious. There's got to be 20,000 people all crammed onto a single ship. The ship is too far away from you to communicate by talking or even shouting, but luckily you brought semaphore flags and are fully trained in their use. And, as you know, by holding up the two colored flags in different positions, you can spell out letters of the alphabet. And in response, folks on the other ship can send messages back to you. Hey, Hamlet here. What's going on? You say in semaphore. Hey, Hamlet. We were sent by Prince Fortinbras from Norway. He's kinda a rough equivalent of you, come to think of it. Anyway, he's on board and we're all going to fight over some really terrible land that sucks. Comes the signed reply. Really? You signal. Yeah, it's totally sucky land. But what are you gonna do? Fighter's gonna fight, he signals. And we're happy to do it. Okay, thanks, you reply in flag talk. Wow, Fortinbras and his army are ready to fight over something entirely useless. And the Polish are willing to defend it too? These people will fight and kill over nothing. And you can't even kill your uncle even though you have totally valid reasons. Whoa, dude, hold up. You start to feel inspired. Be inspired in free verse, kicking it old school. Be inspired in rhyming couplets, and every couplet has the same rhyme.
Ooh, we're gonna do that one.
You ask Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to drop a beat, and they oblige.
Oh my
you hold
God.
out two hands in front of you and start throwing up signs. This is the science you lay down on them. My name is Hamlet, yo, you better check this composition. Just peeped an awesome army boat that of its own volition is led by my man Fortinbras, a man of great ambition, who lessons me whenever we're seen in juxtaposition. Who's taken for himself his chosen military mission, but also lacks my frankly odd particular condition of being told just who to kill by ghostly apparition, and being told to kill a man who by his own admission has sent my dear departed regal dad to the mortician. Now Fortinbras goes off to war and just to requisition land so sad and barren that any given tactician would think him crazy. Well, you see that this new proposition suggests to me quite clearly my apparent opposition to this revenge your dad and kill your new dad expedition. When I have motives valid beyond any inquisition, is weak and dumb, so I've got to end this predisposition towards an action that I have my stupid inhibition must be gotten over fast, cause I got to reposition myself to kill my new dad right away. And in addition, and though I know this carries no small risk of repetition, and saying this out loud will only add to your suspicion, from now on the only things that I'll bring into fruition are the bloody gory parts of my own personal cognition, that is to say only thoughts regarding the commission of the brutal death of Claudius. No more exposition. And you're out. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern clap and compliment you on your flow, although they suggest the lyrics might, make people think you want to kill the king. Isn't that crazy, they say? Aw man, that reminds you. You forgot to rhyme with sedition. You're miffed because it would have worked really well. Continue partying on a boat.
Yeah, that was definitely worth it. That was definitely worth it.
Partying on a boat is great, but it doesn't last forever. After several hours, the party winds down and everyone starts going to bed. You and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern stumble off to your quarters. 3 awesome dudes in 1 awesome room. 1 awesome party room. The next day you wake up, still feeling the effects of the previous night's partying. You put on your shirt, but it feels different. Turns out it's Rosencrantz's shirt. Wow. As you pull it off, a letter falls out of the pocket. Rosencrantz wakes up, teases you for wearing his clothes, and then notices the letter.
Hey, Hamlet, you dropped something,
he says. No, man, you say. It's your letter. This is your shirt. You pass him the garment. He has the shirt.
It's not my letter, bro,
he says, pulling it over his head.
Someone must have slipped it to me sometime yesterday. What's it say?
Flipping it over, you notice it's got a royal seal on the back. It's from King Claudius, you say. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern say the following.
What?
Open the letter. Don't open it. It's got an official seal.
We're opening the letter.
I'm gonna open it, you say. This is what you read.
Dear King of England, it's me, Claudius, the King of Denmark. Listen, we get along pretty well, right? And both our countries are in pretty good shape. Anyway, it'd be really convenient for me, and it would help both our countries stay in good shape, if you could kill Hamlet for me, real quick. It's not that big a deal. Just kill him, okay? Cool? Cool. P.S. I'm 100% serious. Please kill him right now.
You and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern stare at each other for a long moment. Looks like this whole time while you were planning to kill Claudius, he was also planning to kill you.
Dude, are you scoping this letter's choice assassination orders?
Asked Rosencrantz.
I told you, man. I told you about Claudius.
Guildenstern yells. Maybe somehow he heard my raps from last night, you ask. Figure out a plan with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. You and your bros come up with a plan. It goes as follows. You replace the letter with a forgery you wrote together that reads,
Hey, King, can you make it so that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are given fancy houses and made princes and given all the cool things that is possible to have, as they are extremely awesome. But please do not mention this letter or its contents ever again to me. Claudius, the man who is writing this letter right now. If you do see me and this letter comes up and then I claim I did not ask for these things, then I'm lying. I like to pretend sometimes that I didn't write letters, but it's just pretend, haha. I can never take this back. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are awesome. Hamlet's rad too. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are way awesome though.
You replace the official seal with a forgery. Since you're wearing a ring and it bears the royal seal, this is surprisingly easy. You decide that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern will deliver the letter while you catch the next boat back to Denmark to kill Claudius. You're at the stage in fulfilling the plan when pirates attack. Pirates? Nobody said there were pirates. Holy cow, this book just got awesome. Thank you. You're too kind. Let me set the scene. You, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, rush above decks at the sound of the lookout yelling, "Pirates ho!" Following his arm pointing to the horizon, you see a ship sailing directly towards you with alarming speed. Her disguise of a Danish flag being lowered as a black flag with a grinning skull and crossbones unfurls in its place. It's pretty badass. Behind her, a huge storm has gathered, lightning striking into the water. Both are headed straight for you. She's a magnificent ship, a three-masted beauty running 50 meters long from bow to stern. She slices cleanly through the sea with the wind filling her sails. 1,400 tons of boat, a symphony of wood, cloth, brass, and iron. She's as tall as she is long, with each of her masts proudly carrying 4 gargantuan rectangular sails. Rigging of baffling complexity stretches between each mast, its crossbars, and the side of her hull. She carries 26 cannons on her port side and 26 on her starboard,
Wow, that's a
each
lot.
loaded and at the ready, and she's running with her gun ports open. She also sails with 2 forward-facing cannons mounted on her bow, beneath which protrudes the beautifully carved figure of a mermaid. Over 150 strong and able men, all pirates, call her home. The painted and polished red wooden letters affixed to her hull betray her name, Calypso's Gale. You, on the other hand, are on a party boat, the HDMS Vesselmania 4. Your boat is a mere 100 tons, her armaments a slight 6 cannons per side. Vesselmania's 2 smaller masts bear a single triangular sail each. Her crew of 20 is inexperienced and young. Her captain, with whom you've had only a passing acquaintance, seems fresh out of captain school, if that is even a thing. He's there at your side now, barking orders left and right. Men haul up the sails and run below decks to prepare the cannons. It is a scene of barely controlled chaos, and that's when you hear the first report of cannon fire. Both shots hit their target. The pirates are firing chain shot, 2 cannonballs tied together with a length of heavy chain, stuffed into a single cannon, designed to tear apart sails and rigging as they blast through it. The first shot tears apart some of the rigging on your forward sail, but luckily nothing critical is damaged. The second shot hits low, and instead of tearing into the sails, it decapitates the captain in an instant. His headless, bloody body drops at your feet. Pirates. This is so awesome. Yes, well, the bad news is they're not messing around. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern take one look at the bloody corpse of the captain lying at your feet and rush below decks, tripping over each other on their way down the ladder. The first mate is staring at the captain's body in shock. A huge burst of lightning flashes across the darkening sky, and rain begins to fall on Vesselmania's deck. Calypso's Gale is gaining on you, and her forward cannons are being reloaded. The distance between the 2 ships is decreasing by the second. What do? Take command of this vessel. Follow your friends below decks. Hang tight until this blows over.
Okay.
I'm
take
assuming command of this vessel, you say, taking the hat off the captain's head and putting it on your own. The crew acquiesces easily. You're the oldest person on board, and you are also royalty. Lucky for you. Report, you order.
Mainsail is undamaged. The junked rigging of the secondary sail has been destroyed by cannon shot, but repair crews have been dispatched.
Replies your first mate.
Hull integrity at 92%. We're sailing in a broad reach.
You recall enough sailor talk to know that means the wind is at your back, but you're sailing at a slight angle to it. It's the safest way to travel, as traveling with the wind exactly at your back makes for a faster but less stable boat. You normally want to minimize your chances of losing control. On the other hand, with pirates on your tail, maybe now isn't the time to worry about safety.
What are your orders?
Shouts the first mate over the roar of wind and sea. We need all the speed we can get. Change course so the wind is directly at our back. Continue at the controllable speed we're at now. Turn around and face the pirates head on. Put the wind at our back, you order. Your first mate says,
Aye, sir.
and begins barking commands to the crew.
Set sails leeward. We'll be running before the wind, boys.
The crew adjusts the sails quickly, and you can feel it as the boat gains speed. You look behind you, expecting to see Calypso's Gale fade from view, but even with the wind fully at your back, the pirate ship is still gaining. It wasn't enough. Calypso's Gale fires again, and chain shot tears through Vesselmania's stern and exits through the port side of the hull, thankfully above the waterline.
Orders, Captain?
You stare at Calypso's Gale through a spyglass. The square shape of her rigging reminds you of something. Continue with the wind at our back. Turn around and face the pirates head on. Try to remember everything you know about sailing before you answer. Those sails she's carrying, 3 masts, each with 4 rectangular sails on them. Of course, you say. The pirate captain did what you would have done in his position. He's chosen the most favorable angle of attack. He's coming in with the wind fully at his back because that's when his boat is fastest. Those square-rigged sails are terrific at catching the wind, and he's got lots of them, but their disadvantage is that they can't be adjusted quickly. Every change requires the crew to climb up and change the rigging on each sail individually. You, on the other hand, can adjust your 2 triangular sails quickly, and it can be done at deck level. If you come about into the storm while maintaining a slight angle away from it, you should be able to turn around, maintain speed, slip past Calypso's gale, and be long gone before she can even begin to turn. It's your only hope. You lower the spyglass, lock eyes with your first mate, and shout your orders over the roar of the storm.
Strategy.
Come about into the storm. Set sails windward. Keep a close-hauled tack. Come about into the storm. Set sails windward. Keep a close-hauled tack, me hearties. Yo-ho-ho.
Okay, we'll do that later.
The sails are adjusted by your crew. As you turn towards the wind, the waves, which had previously been traveling with you, are now moving against you. Huge white-capped waves crest and splash over the deck. Hold on, men, you shout into the gale. Your ship heels over, almost capsizing with the intensity of the turn, but the sails keep just clear of the water and the maneuver is successful. As she rights herself, you see Calypso's gale ahead of you bearing down, still at speed. All you need to do is pass by her side and you'll be free. Steady, steady, you shout as the 2 ships approach each other, Vesselmania slipping by on the right. Looking at the crew of the pirate ship, you see them scrambling into the rigging, adjusting their sails as fast as they can. It shouldn't be enough. It shouldn't be. But they're not trying to come about. They're not trying to sidle up parallel to fire their cannons. Instead, they've thrown the rudder hard to port, sending the ship into a tight curve. They're attempting to ram you, Hamlet. Hard to starboard! Hard to starboard! You scream, but there's not enough time. Calypso's gale tears into the side of your ship at full speed. You and the rest of the crew are knocked to the deck as Vesselmania is cleaved almost in 2. You scramble to your feet and see that she somehow managed to stay together, impaled on the much larger bow of Calypso's gale, but she's mortally wounded. She's filling with water as we speak, Hamlet. Looking up through the storm, you see ropes being thrown over the edge of the pirate ship. Pirates are sliding down them, swords at the ready, hoping to kill you and take whatever valuables they can find before Vesselmania finally capsizes. Given her current condition, they'd better be fast. You'd better be fast too, whatever it is you decide to do next. Order the crew to abandon ship, then commandeer the pirate vessel. Order the crew to abandon ship, then go below decks to rescue Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Abandon ship! All hands, abandon ship! You yell into the storm. The crew looks at you in shock, but there's not much they can do. You want us to jump into the ocean? Someone yells. I don't want you to jump into the ocean, you reply. You bite down on the blade of your sword and begin to climb one of the ropes leading up to the pirate ship. Some of your men nearby realize what you're doing and join in, climbing up other ropes. Partway up, you turn around, grasp your sword, and shout down at your remaining crew. I want you to jump into the fight! Your crew shouts in defiance at the pirates, charges the ropes, and begins to climb. Continue climbing. You and your crew scramble up the ropes. Partway up, an explosion rocks Vesselmania 4. You hold tight to the rope as the force of the explosion reaches you, shooting debris upwards into the sky, taking your captain's hat with it, and messing up your hair. Looking downward, you see the entire top deck of Vesselmania has been destroyed, revealing fires raging underneath. There's no way anyone could have survived. You hope Rosencrantz and Guildenstern made it above decks in time, but there's too much storm for you to make out the others on the ropes below you clearly. Maybe they made it to the ropes? Yes, that's definitely what happened. No, man, they died. Ha! Nice try. Your friends have to choose their own adventure here. You don't get to make life or death choices for them. If you want to do that, you should play my other book, God, the Adventure. Decide how each of billions of individual stories end. Fun at first, tedious soon after. So many lives are depressingly similar. Personally, though, I also hope Rosencrantz and Guildenstern survived. And I think that probably that counts for something. Suddenly, lightning strikes the water below. A huge roar of thunder deafens you. But in that brief instant, the world is illuminated. You see your young crew of almost 20, both by count and by age, cutlasses at the ready, fighting as they climb. Pirates swarm down the lines, battling them for sport. Above them, on deck, they're being cheered by a row of pirates. And at the very bow of the ship, looking down with a spyglass, stands the captain. He's got a fancy hat and a parrot on his shoulder, the works. And he's staring right at you through the storm. The darkness of the storm is restored moments later. You grimly resume your climb. One way or another, you're going to end this. Continue climbing. Attack pirates. You're about halfway up when you meet your first pirate. You decide you have the advantage. You can always slide down the rope some to gain distance, while he can only climb up, which takes more time. Before it comes to that, however, you brace your legs against the hull of Calypso's gale. As the pirate approaches you, you push off with all your strength, sending you both into the darkness, hanging in space out above the ocean. You were ready for this, the pirate wasn't. You wield your sword and stab upwards, sending it cleanly through the surprised pirate's butt. Haha, sweet. You hear him scream as he falls, and then you hear a small splash as he hits the ocean. Looking up, you see another pirate already climbing down to take his place. The same trick isn't going to work twice, Hamlet. Climb up higher to meet the pirate. Lure the pirate to slide down lower. Hey, you yell. Big bad pirate, why don't you come down here and fight me? The pirate seems reluctant until you tell him that he's a disappointment to his family and how the grief and shame of having a child who grew up to work as a pirate, who became a pirate, seems so colossal to your parents, and yet at the same time also so private and personal that they rarely speak of him, even to each other. They live with this invisible wall between them, always preventing them from being as close as they used to be, as they want to be again, the subject of their son somehow always in mind but never broached. His parents, who used to tell each other everything, now go to bed in silence, and this pirate's actions, his choices, have created this thing, untouchable, unreal, that nevertheless heartlessly and inexorably drives his parents a little more into solitude each day. They've become strangers to each other. The pirate hollers in rage at your way sick diss and begins climbing down. When he's close, you brace your legs against the hull and push, but the pirate is ready for it and holds on tight. What he's not ready for is the fact that you pushed at an angle, sending you out into space, and then back to the ship further to the left of where you had been. You grab another rope, and in the same smooth action, reach up and send your sword through his rope, just above of where he's holding. You watch as man and rope fall, silhouetted by the burning deck of Vesselmania 4. They disappear into the flames. You're fired, you say. You manage to climb up quite a bit before another pirate takes his place. I hope for your sake you've got another trick up your sleeve. Push out from the ship, use your legs as a battering ram, and smash your way inside through a porthole.
That's swashbuckling for you right there.
That's a really good idea. Huh, nicely done. You push out from the ship, use your legs as a battering ram, and smash your way inside through a porthole. You manage somehow to hit the deck, roll, and leap to your feet in one impressively smooth motion. Unfortunately, there's nobody around to see it, as everyone is above decks engaged in battle, and you've landed in the captain's quarters. Around you are the accoutrements of command, the ship's log, and yes, a sword. A much nicer sword, actually, than the one you started this journey with. You decide to take it. You are now wielding the fancy sword. You don't care that you lost your other sword. It sucks now. You kick down the door. It has a handle, but things were just going that way, and take the ladder to the top deck. You push open the trapdoor and climb out. In front of you is an epic battle. Your crew taking on 2, sometimes 3 pirates at a time. It's amazing. Each success seems to fuel them further, each pirate body hitting the deck only adding to their experience points. You can almost see them leveling up as you watch, and it's like all their perks are being invested in battle techniques. Suddenly you feel a cold tap on your shoulder. Turning around, you find yourself face to face with the pirate captain. You both raise your swords as you leap into your dueling stances. A pause, and then you rush each other, swords clashing. You thrust and parry back and forth until a moment comes when your swords catch each other, and in that sudden silence you stare across your blades into each other's eyes.
You fight like a dairy farmer,
He says. How appropriate. You fight like a... Ow! You say, as he slices at your arm, cutting you. It was superficial this time. You're lucky, dude. The pirate captain gloats at drawing first blood, pointing to you and calling you a bunch of very unkind names that I'm not going to say here because I don't want you to throw down this book so you can try to find and murder this pirate in real life. Just take my word for it. The things he says about you are that bad. On the plus side, while he gloats, there's an opening. You should attack. Attack the hand he's pointing at you with. Attack the face he's laughing at you with. Attack the shoulders he's giving structure to his stupid upper body with. You drop to one knee and put all your effort into sending your sword upwards at his outstretched hand. You manage to cleave it from his wrist in a single slice. Ooh! The momentum from the blow carries his hand up into the air, and you both watch. He in shock, you in surprise at how good this awesome sword is, as his detached hand describes an arc directly towards you. It hits your chest with a bloody splat. You brush his hand off your jacket and say, "Hey, I never knew what it was like to cut off a limb before. Guess now I finally got some first-hand experience." By the way, this was my first sword fight at sea, so thanks for giving me a hand. Hey, hands off the threads. The pirate captain screams in rage, charging you with his sword. You deftly parry and sidestep, ending up behind him. The two of you circle each other, flurries of swordplay erupting whenever one of you detects an opportunity. Despite his injury, neither of you is able to gain the advantage on the rain-soaked deck of the ship. Suddenly, lightning strikes the brass rail behind the pirate captain, and he's briefly stunned by the tremendous thunder that follows. You're stunned as well, but being a few feet away, you recover more quickly. There's your opening, Hamlet. Attack his dominant sword-bearing arm. Attack his eye. You swing your sword sideways as hard as you can, making contact with his left elbow at full speed.
No!
Your sword slices through the flesh easily.
Ugh.
He screams and tries to attack you with his other arm, but a second later, you've cut that one off at the elbow too. You both look down at his now useless arms,
Ooh.
lying on the deck, one hand still clutching his sword. The perfect thing to deadpan suddenly comes to mind, the words crystallizing in your head like they were written for you by the very gods themselves. All hands on deck. Hey, who here thinks I'm winning this fight? Can I maybe get a show of hands? Huh, looks like you're not as well armed as you thought.
Armed. Are you armed, matey?
The pirate screams at you, livid. He's lost some very important body parts, but he's not going to stop. He's out of control with rage, and he will fight you right to the end. You can't let your guard down. He'll take you apart with his teeth if you let him. It's time to finish this, Hamlet.
Is this like this kind of is almost
Deliver the
reminding me
killing
of the Black Knight in, you know, Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
The captain tries to spit in your face. You stab him right in the chest, piercing a lung. He gasps and swears at you. Save your breath, you say. You take a step back and slice off the captain's chin, sending it flying into the rigging. Come on, keep your chin up, you yell, slicing again at his face. You cut off the tip of his nose and it flies overboard. You know what they say, you say grimly,
To the pain.
taking your sword in both hands. Follow your nose. With one huge strike, you behead the pirate captain. His head rolls at your feet, and you kick it overboard into the ocean. Let me just say, holy crap! Never in your life have you fought so well. This was awesome, literally awesome. If you live to be 1,000 years old, you'd never have a fight go so amazingly well as it did today. You're catching your breath when you hear familiar voices yell, "Hamlet!" Turning around, you see Rosencrantz and Guildenstern rushing towards you. They survived! In fact, they did more than survive the battle. Like you, they thrived in it. All around them lie the bodies of pirates, and your crew dispatches the last few survivors. This is incredible. Calypso's gale is yours, and the storm surrounding her is clearing as quickly as it appeared in the first place. Sun pierces through the clouds. You and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hug each other, and your crew cheers. Pulling back, Guildenstern notices the blood on your jacket, and then the headless torso on the floor. "What happened to the captain?" asks Guildenstern. "Don't know," you say. "Last I saw, he was headed for sea."
Oh,
says Rosencrantz.
does that mean you cut off his head and then threw it overboard?
Let's just say that when he fought me, he got in a little over his head,
Oh, you cut off his head and then threw it overboard.
says Rosencrantz. Take command of this larger, much nicer vessel. You do that, and make Rosencrantz and Guildenstern your first officers. Congratulations, Captain Hamlet. Calypso's gale is yours to command. Your crew demands a speech, cheering and hollering at you. Stepping up onto the highest part of Calypso's bridge, you decide to give them what they want. You hold your hands out in front of you and ask for silence. They quiet, and in the moment before you speak, the only noise you hear is the sound of waves gently splashing on the hull beneath you. A peaceful, beautiful sound. It's a perfect moment. You look at your crew, and they at you. People often speak of the machinery of fate, you say, as though the course of our lives is governed by some untouchable, unknowable clockwork. Well, if fate be a machine, Today she was a machine that transformed us all into an unstoppable force of vengeance. Your crew cheers wildly. Gods even. Your crew cheers even louder. Yes, you say. Today, we truly were gods from the machine. Your crew resumes their duties. This was a really amazing part of your adventure, Hamlet. You're sure that, should you ever one day write a book about this story or perhaps a stage production, you'd definitely include this scene. Why, you'd have to be literally crazy to write a story where you journey to England, get attacked by pirates, actual pirates, but then just sum up that whole adventure in a single sentence. Ha, that'd be the worst. Who puts a pirate attack scene in their story and doesn't show it to the audience? Hopefully nobody, that's who. Even from a purely structural viewpoint, you've got to give the audience something awesome to make up for all the introspection you've been doing. That just seems pretty obvious is all. Anyway, enough crazy hypotheticals. To where will you make sail? Sail to England. This party is just getting started. Sail back to Denmark to revenge yourself on Claudius. Become pirates. The sails are already flying. It'll be easy.
That's too funny. Listen to that. Listen to that Pirates of the Caribbean rip-off music. I love it. Yep, it's so ripped off.
While sailing to Denmark, you and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern come up with a plan. Clearly, King Claudius wants you dead, but he isn't willing to move overtly, hence the letter he planted on your friends. Heck, even the pirate attack could have been orchestrated by him. It's impossible to know who he's gotten to while you've been gone. You can't trust anyone. You decide to attack Claudius head-on from Calypso's gale. Attack Claudius more discreetly, lest a frontal attack from a pirate ship disturb the people of Denmark and weaken your right to rule. Rather than sailing into shore and attacking the king head-on, you decide not to tip your hand. This is the plan you come up with. You'll approach Denmark at night, flying Danish flags. Calypso's gale will stay out from shore, looking like any other trader, but will remain ready to move on your signal. You'll leave Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in command, dive overboard into the ocean, and swim to shore. Once there, you'll compose and send 3 letters to Horatio by messenger. The first will be addressed to Claudius and read, "Hey, I'm back from England, all by myself. Surprised? You will be tomorrow when I see you. P.S. I am naked." Hopefully you'll be able to scare/confuse him into some rash, overt action against you, which you'll be able to counter with Calypso's help. The second goes to your mother and reads, "Hey Mom, I'm still mad at you for marrying Claudius, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna kill him. So, try to act surprised?" The third and final letter is for your friend Horatio and says, "Hey Horatio, crazy story. Pirates attacked, and they took me hostage, but just me. And then they brought me back to Denmark because I said I'd do them a favor. Speaking of which, can you make sure these other 2 letters reach Mom and Uncle Dad? Then come see me real quick, okay? I'll be down by the docks." That should be enough to both ensure your letters are delivered, and to see if Claudius has gotten to Horatio while you are away. If he hasn't, Horatio can help you take down Claudius. If he has, well, you'll deal with Horatio the same way you dealt with the pirates, with your swords and your wits, both deadly sharp and both insanely pointed. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern agreed to your plan. You arrive near Denmark shore in the middle of the night, the waves silver with reflected moonlight. "Good luck, my friends," you tell Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. "And to you," they reply. "You've both grown so much this trip. It's been so great, you've never felt closer to these awesome dudes." You dive into the sea and swim for shore. Reach shore and send letters.
Well, yeah, it's the only
You send your
choice.
letters. You have time before the messenger will deliver them, so you wander down to the docks. You get the attention of a passerby who looks like she works here. "Excuse me, what's that ship over there?" you say, pointing as casually as you can at your insanely majestic ship.
Her? That's, Calypso's gale. Looks like a Danish trader. I imagine she'll be docking in a few hours,"
she says. "Oh, neat," you say. Everything's going according to plan. You wave to the ship just in case Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are watching and wander around, waiting for Horatio to show up. You eat some fried fish. It is really yummy. Suddenly you feel a tap on your shoulder. Looking around, you see your old friend Horatio. "Hamlet, you're back," he says, hugging you. "Did you deliver my letters?" you ask. "Yep. So, what's your story? Pirates attacked and only took you hostage? And then they brought you back here for no reason?" "Haha,
That's so crazy. That's really what happened?
Do you trust Horatio? If you do, you'll let him in on the full story. If you don't, you'll let him think that only you made it back from the trip. Trust Horatio. No way he'd side with my murderous stepdad over me. We saw a ghost together. You just don't turn away from that.
Trust no one.
Yes, that is exactly what happened, you say.
What about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?
He asks. They, died, you say. The king wanted to murder me, and he got them to carry a letter telling the English king to kill me. Yes, that's it. And so I, secretly, replaced that note with a forgery that told him to kill Rosencrantz and Guildenstern instead. They're dead now. Because, as I said earlier in my letter, the pirates left after they captured me. Yes, everything fits together nicely. It's a good lie, close to the truth, so it won't be hard to keep straight.
Whoa,
Horatio says.
bro, that's cold. What did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern do to deserve that?
Yes, that is a reasonable question. And the reasonable answer is that they carried the letter from Claudius on purpose. And they were allied with him all along, and I trust them as much as I trust snakes.
Huh,
Says Horatio. Oh, and I would totally kill anyone who was secretly working for my stepdad, you say, making significant eye contact with him.
huh.
Says Horatio, perfectly neutrally. Darn those even-handed non-committal responses that tell you nothing. You've been walking as you talk, and you and Horatio find yourselves in the graveyard. It's close to the river everyone takes their drinking water from, which I guess kinda explains why people act so crazy around here. Spoiler alert, water contamination. Spoiler alert, this is gross. There are 2 gravediggers here. Wait, hold up. One of them is leaving. Off to have his own adventures, no doubt. Do you ever think about that, Hamlet? About all the people you pass in the street and how they're each the star of their own little narrative? How it's weird that people who you'll never talk to are off having their own lives, building their own stories? And isn't it crazy that from their point of view, you'd be a minor character? Entirely forgettable? Well, it's true. And in this Gravedigger story, you play the role of guy who shows up and toots just as I leave. You toot. He leaves. The remaining Gravedigger is singing. Listen to his singing. Join in with his singing. The Gravedigger sings about being young and in love. He's singing while he digs a grave, you say.
Yeah.
Says Horatio.
His job is to dig graves, so he's used to it.
Whoa, you say. This whole thing is seriously blowing your mind. The Gravedigger sings about being old now, and the tune is pretty catchy, actually. While he's busy digging this grave, he digs into a pre-existing grave. Remember that in our time period, it's not like this is especially weird or awful. And digs something up. He tosses it behind him. Hey, there is a skull here. You keep your distance from the Gravedigger, but look at the skull intently. That skull had a tongue in it once, you say to Horatio.
Yep.
Says Horatio. It had jowls too, you say.
Yeah, probably.
Says Horatio. Maybe it was a politician's skull. Ooh, or a courtier. Lord such a one or whoever. And look, that guy's throwing it around like it's not even a thing, you say.
Lord such and such, you mean?
Sighs Horatio, as the Gravedigger digs up another skull. There are now 2 skulls here. The other skull seems pretty interesting too. You close your eyes and think very clearly. Look, other skull. Then you open your eyes and examine the other skull intently. I'm not gonna lie. From this distance, it definitely looks a lot like the first skull. You're fascinated by it though. Maybe that other skull was a lawyer's skull, you say, nudging Horatio. Look at him now. Where's his impressive lawyer tricks now, huh? His fancy rhetoric for the judge and jury.
He's dead,
says Horatio. Why doesn't he sue this guy for assault after he dug up his skull with a shovel if he's such a fancy lawyer, you say.
I'd have to say it's probably because he's dead,
says Horatio. Maybe it was a landowner's skull instead. Maybe he owned all this land and had all this complicated accounting for it. Ha! Huh. Is one of those accounting rules that his empty skull now gets filled up with dirt, you say.
Yes, I believe that's generally what happens when you die,
says Horatio. You stare at him wildly, then back to the skull, then back to Horatio. Then you stare at the skull for a bit.
Listen,
Horatio says.
Maybe you want to talk to the Gravedigger for a while. I'm sure he'd find your viewpoint absolutely novel and riveting.
Talk to Gravedigger.
Alright. So, it's been a little bit. Let me see. Checkpoints? I want to check out something. The checkpoints. What? Wow, there aren't that many checkpoints to go back in which Claudius reads a book. That's all the way back in the beginning. What the heck?
You keep your distance from the gravedigger, but look at the skull intently. That skull had a tongue in it once, you say to Horatio. Yep, says Horatio.
There we go.
The gravedigger and you chat back and forth. Here's a snippet of the conversation you have. Whose grave is this, you say.
It's mine,
He says. I thought it was yours because you're the one lying in it, you say. Really, Hamlet? He's not lying in it, he's standing in it, digging. And if you're going for a lying down / lying untruth pun, then I'm sorry, but it's not going to,
and you're lying out of it, so it's not yours.
says the gravedigger, super proud of this dumb wordplay. He goes on.
Actually, I'm not lying. It really is mine.
But you are lying, you say before I can stop you. Because you're in it and saying it's yours, but you're alive and graves aren't for the living. Ah ha ha, got you there. Riveting. This back and forth goes back and forth, and eventually it comes out that he's digging a grave for a young woman, and you, as you are an uncouth brute, ask how long he's had this job before you even ask him his name, and he says he's been working as a gravedigger since the day Hamlet was born. Hey, that's you. What a crazy coincidence. You should probably say something. Tell the gravedigger you're Hamlet. Play dumb. Anyway, you decide to play dumb. Hamlet? Who is Hamlet? You say, elbowing Horatio, who's standing beside you. Horatio rolls his eyes. Why the accent? Horatio sighs. You didn't have it a second ago,
Hamlet is the prince who went to England because he was crazy.
says the gravedigger.
He'll get less crazy there, or he won't. But either way, it won't matter because everyone's crazy in England.
Racism, says Horatio.
How did the Prince Hamlet go? How do you say? Crazy.
You ask.
Very strangely.
He replies. Oh God, you two are gonna go at it again, aren't you? Oh God, you are. How strangely? You ask.
By losing his mind.
He says.
On what grounds?
You ask. Hey, stop setting him up.
Why, right here in Denmark.
He says. Ha ha ha, listen, I'm cutting you off. The rest of your conversation is censored, but at some point he gestures to one of the skulls you were looking at earlier and volunteers that that's the skull of Yorick, once the gesture to the king, now dead and buried 23 years.
He poured a flagon of Rhenish on my head once.
Says the gravedigger. Check this out. You are really interested in hearing about either one of those things. You pick up the skull and hold it out in front of you.
Of course.
You begin to feel inspired. Alas, poor Yorick, you say. I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now, how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rises at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed, I know not how oft. Where be your jibes now? Your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar. Not one now to mock your own grinning. Quite chapfallen? Now get you to my lady's chamber and tell her, let her paint an inch thick. To this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that. What my friend means to say, says Horatio, is that he remembers Yorick and the fun times they shared. But now to look at his gross remains makes him want to drop a barf.
Ah,
Says the gravedigger. He then asks a dead lifeless skull where its jokes and songs are, and then tells the skull to go to his girlfriend's room and tell her that no matter how much makeup she puts on, she'll end up like him one day, Horatio says.
well, not exactly like him,
Says the gravedigger.
as male and female skulls have several structural differences.
You interrupt them both. Horatio, do you think Alexander the Great looked like this after he was buried? Yeah, probs, says Horatio. The skull is smelly, you say. Yeah, probs, says Horatio. Do you think it's weird that we can be alive and be kings of the world, But then we die and return to the earth, and then someone might use that earth to make mud, and use that mud to fix a hole in a barrel?
Who uses mud to fix a...
Horatio begins, but you interrupt him. You can also use mud to patch a wall, you say. Suddenly, you're startled by noises. It sounds like screaming. You, Horatio, and the gravedigger investigate the noises and discover that they were caused by Gertrude, your mom, Claudius, your new dad that you swore you'd murder, Larides, Ophelia's brother. You haven't really hung out with him that much, actually. A priest. Priests are ordained ministers of the church. And a coffin. Coffins are what people get buried in. Dude, you should know this. It seems like Gertrude was... screaming? Wailing? Weird. You elbow your friend. Hey, you say. Look how sucky that coffin is. Look how small the ceremony is. It must have been someone who killed themselves. You know what'd be hilarious? If we stayed and watched.
Listen, Hamlet, there's something you should know,
Horatio says. Shh, you say. Look, that's Larides, you say to the gravedigger. You pause and stare at him intently. Yeah, he's pretty rad, you say.
Hamlet,
Horatio says.
Don't you wonder why Larides is at a funeral? Maybe if he's here, it means it might be someone close to him who died.
You cut him off. I can't eavesdrop on people in their most private moments of grief if you keep trying to have a serious conversation about a life or death matter with me, you hiss at him. Turning your attention back to Larides, you see him arguing with the priest, asking for more rights. More rights, he says. But the priest says he's done all the rights he should do already, and then some. Since this person committed suicide, called it, they don't get as many rights.
If we do any more rites, we'll profane the blessed souls of the other people buried here, he says.
You, Horatio, and the gravedigger all wince as you glance at the skulls he's dug up. Whoops. Larides continues to argue with the priest.
Well, fine. Go ahead and lay her here, jerkorama priest,
Larides says.
My sis will be an angel in heaven while you're burning in hell.
They lower her body into the grave. Wow, he's really upset. Wait, sister? Ophelia's dead? Ophelia's dead? Ophelia's dead? You say out loud, shocked. The gravedigger shrugs. He's not friends with any of these people.
I tried to tell you,
Horatio says.
I meant to tell you earlier, but you seemed so happy to be back, and I wasn't... Look, I'm sorry, Hamlet. She passed away shortly after you left on your trip.
Gertrude and Larides and Claudius are still unaware that you're here. Gertrude throws flowers on her grave, saying that she'd always hoped Ophelia would marry you, and that instead, she'd be throwing flowers on her wedding bed. Geez, Gertrude, inappropriate. That is not something for a new mother-in-law to do for newlyweds. Larides curses 3 times whomever it was who robbed Ophelia of her sanity, and then curses them again 10 times, 3 times for a total of 33 curses. Then he jumps into the grave so that he might hold her in his arms once more. Geez, Larides, that's like double inappropriate to the power of 3 for a total of 8 inappropriates. Okay, so they're all really upset and acting crazy. The right thing to do here is go home, approach them later, and say you saw them at the funeral but didn't want to interrupt. Also, it'll give you a chance to deal with your grief too, which you should be feeling. You are feeling it, aren't you, Hamlet? She was your sweetie, and you've come back from a trip to find her dead of apparent suicide. What do you do? Go home and talk to everyone later. Step from the shadows and introduce yourself dramatically. Be Ophelia.
Be Ophelia? Oh, God.
You step out of the shadows of the graveyard, leaving Horatio and the gravedigger behind. Who's the men whose grief is so extreme, whose words of sorrow can make even the stars themselves stand still and wonder in sadness at what they hear? It's me, Hamlet the Dane. Then you hop into the grave, joining Larides there. Why not? Emotions are a competition, right? Larides sees you and screams in rage.
The devil take thy soul,
he shouts, which, I mean, if you're going to yell anything, it's pretty much the awesomest and classiest thing to yell at a time and place like this. And with that, you fight. That's right. You and Larides fight. In a graveyard. During a funeral. In an open grave. With the coffin of Ophelia at your feet. This is how you choose to live your life. Larides punches you in the teeth, and you stagger back until you collide with the muddy grave wall. You raise your eyes up to Larides, wiping blood from your mouth with the back of your hand. You glance down at your bloodied hand. That's a funny way to pray, you say, and laugh. Larides looks at you. Here's how I do it. You jump at him, forcing your head into his chest as hard as you can. He falls backwards, winded, gasping for air. Our Father, you say, your left fist connecting with his cheek. Who art in heaven. Here, your right fist collides in a punishing blow with his jaw. Hallowed be thy. His arms shoot out and encircle your throat, and before you can react, he squeezes. You see stars dance around the edge of your vision. You don't want to do that, you gasp, but Larides only squeezes tighter.
Now why's that, Hamlet?
He says, smirking, mock concern written on his face. You lock eyes with him. There's something dangerous inside of me, and you should be afraid of it, you say. I am. You shouldn't make me angry, Larides. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Larides laughs at you, and you feel almost giddy. You can feel yourself losing control. You can feel yourself starting to want it. I won't tell you again, little man, you say, unsure if you're threatening him or pleading with him. Take your hands off. Turn into a gamma-irradiated monster. Continue being Hamlet.
Of course, turn into a gamma-irradiated monster. I love that. That is funny as hell.
Rather than embracing the madness, you bring your hands up between Larides' hands and, bashing them outwards, free your neck from his grasp. You're vaguely aware of your mother shouting your name as you punch Larides over and over again, avoiding his own punches as best you can. You're both getting in some good hits. Finally, Horatio and the gravedigger jump down into the grave and hold the two of you apart. You're both trying to break free.
What the heck is this about?
Yells your mother.
This is a funeral, and you're fighting in an open grave for no reason.
Mom, Larides is saying he loved Ophelia more than I did, you say. I loved her more than 40 billion to his stupid old brothers.
He really is crazy,
says Claudius. I'll eat a crocodile to prove how serious I am, you offer.
I'm sorry for my crazy son,
Gertrude says.
Usually he calms down after a little while.
You decide to prove her right. Turning to Larides, you say, listen, bro, why are you treating me like this? I've done nothing to deserve this. But Larides stares at you, aghast, almost like he holds you responsible for Ophelia's death? Anyway, you say, Hamlet out. You leave. A little while later, Horatio catches up with you. Hey, sorry. Claudius made me leave too. What about the gravedigger, you say? I think he's back to digging graves. He was supposed to be working the whole time we were there. Anyway. Ah, you say. Talk to Horatio about your pirate trip again. Talk to Horatio about what just happened. But you already told him about it. If you talk to him about it again, the story's just going to be super repetitive. Talk to Horatio about the pirate trip again. Talk to Horatio about what just happened.
Okay, let's just talk about, what just happened.
Listen, I feel kind of bad about getting into that fight with Larides, you say. And ruining Ophelia's funeral? Horatio volunteers. That too. You know what? I'll be nice to him. He's grieving too, right? We're like two peas in a pod. Only instead of peas, we're humans. And instead of being in a pod, we're in a state of grief. Okay, says Horatio. I just really hate it when people try to grieve harder than I do, you exclaim, punching your fist into your palm. That must come up a lot, says Horatio. Anyway, meet me at the castle tomorrow morning, okay? You say. There's something that's gonna go down that I think you'll want to see. Okay, I will. Sweet. Well, see you later, you say. And then it's awkward because you're both still walking to the castle in the same direction side by side. You walk in silence for a bit until you get the bright idea of stopping because a flower looks so interesting. And then Horatio will walk ahead and it won't be weird anymore. But then Horatio stops too, a few paces ahead. God. It proceeds like this. The two of you walking in fits and starts, one pausing to adjust his leggings or whatever, and the other deciding to wait, but only after taking a few halting steps ahead. You guys, I don't know. When you finally get to bed, you go to sleep sad. Ophelia's dead, remember? But also excited. You're going to expose Claudius tomorrow, and you have Calypso's Gale to back you up, remember? While you're sleeping, I sneak in and pour a potion of not grieving anymore because feelings are boring into your ear. That's how liquids enter the body most efficiently, remember? Remember? This is one callback-filled scene, my friend. And you wake up feeling not too emo, which is terrific. Because honestly, We're finally heading towards the climax, and I don't want you missing out on it because you stay home being sad. Okay, it's tomorrow. Greet the new day. This is it, Hamlet. This is the day you confront Claudius. You put on your best confronting the king tights, and your fanciest confronting the king's scabbard. Don't worry, I looked it up. It's a sheath for holding a sword. You and Horatio are walking into the castle when Osric shows up. Hey, I know this guy. He's a member of the royal court and he's super manipulable. Here, I'll show you. Put your hat on, you say to Osric.
No thanks. It's too hot today,
He says. No, man, it's cold, with winds from the north and a 30% chance of precipitation, you reply.
Oh yeah, it's cold,
He says. And yet, it's also super hot and humid, you say.
Yes, it's quite hot out,
He says. See? See? Okay, I need to apologize because I've been making fun of your choices this entire book. But when I took over here, all I did was have a pointless conversation with a dude who isn't even a real character in this story. I'm sorry. Maybe this isn't as easy as it looks. So I'll tell you what Osric's here to say. The king wants you to fence with Laertes, and he's gone ahead and made a bet. He thinks that in a dozen rounds, Laertes won't win by more than 3 hits. Oh, and he's put 6 horses on the line, 6 swords complete with sword accessories, and 3 fancy carriages. He is wagering all this neat stuff. On the one hand, you're here to expose Claudius, not Laertes. And fighting Laertes won't actually solve anything at all, and is entirely unrelated to avenging your father's death. Also, he's probably upset about, his sister and father dying, and I'm not really sure what sword fighting him will accomplish in the helping him get past his grief department. On the other hand, well, no, actually, I can't think of a good reason why you should fight this guy. I, the author of this story, who has imagined this entire realm wholesale and brought it to life inside my head, cannot conceive of a single reason why you should fight Laertes. What do you do? Accept the sword fight invitation. Okay, let's do this, you say. Why not, right? It's not like you've got anything else going on. That was sarcastic. Osric leaves and then comes back immediately.
King wants to know if he'll fight him now,
He says.
He's just in there.
Oh, right, I forgot to mention. You're right outside the royal court, which is also the castle fencing room. Anyway, messenger's gonna message, right? You say that's fine, and Osric says okay and leaves. Horatio turns to you. Listen, man, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you're gonna win, Hamlet, he says. Sure I am, you say. I've been practicing fencing since the start of this story. What? Says Horatio. And I'm saying, what? Too. Because there have been 0 fencing scenes, at all, unless you count the pirate battle. But that was more sword fighting than fencing. There's a difference, They both require swordsmanship, but in the same way that poetry and essays are both writing. You realize that you were lying just now and start to feel bad about your chances. Maybe I won't win after all, you say. I suddenly feel a sense of foreboding that would perhaps trouble a woman. Ah, jeez, Hamlet. Ah, jeez. Talk about how sometimes you say terrible things about women and how sometimes, in private moments of reflection, you wonder what that says about you. Talk instead about the nature of free will. You talk about free will. Providence controls everything, even a sparrow's death, you say. If something's supposed to happen now, it will. If it's supposed to happen later, then it won't happen now. All that matters is that we're prepared for it. Wait, says Horatio. If you subscribe to a destiny as all worldview, where things happen when they're supposed to, how does preparedness enter into it? If it's going to happen, it'll happen whether or not you're prepared. You say. To repeat what you just said about free will, read this page again. To talk about that sexist thing you said on the last page, choose this option instead. I'm done talking. Stand around and wait for something to happen. You stand around for a bit.
I'm done talking.
Suddenly, Claudius enters. And your mom too. And Laertes. And a bunch of other people you don't know. Wow, it looks like this plot is going to advance itself whether you want it to or not. Claudius makes you and Laertes shake hands, and you apologize to Laertes as you do it. You explain that, as a victim of mental illness, you should not be held criminally responsible for your actions, and it's a very nice speech except you are only faking being crazy. So all in all, it's sort of a dick move on your part. You draw the analogy of firing an arrow over your house and accidentally hitting your brother, and how in this situation it's not really your fault for injuring him. Laertes accepts your apology and is polite enough not to ask why you're recklessly firing arrows over your house in the first place. He still wants to fence you though. What the heck? It's a pretty wide hallway and everyone's already here. Guess you're going to fence right in this hallway. Why not, right? Osric offers you some swords. They're all pretty much the same, so whatever sword you choose doesn't really matter. Choose the sword on the left. You and Laertes settle on the swords you like and face off against each other. As you're about to begin, Claudius speaks.
Let's make this a drinking game,
He says. You say.
If you make the first hit,
Claudius says.
then we'll both take a drink.
Okay, you say.
But if Laertes hits you, and you only make the second hit,
He says.
then we'll both take a drink too.
Okay, you say.
Oh, and if Laertes hits you twice before you make a hit, so you only make the third hit, then we'll both take a drink.
I'm not sure if I should get drunk during a fencing match, you say.
I'll put a pearl in your drink, haha. There's nothing suspicious about that.
Claudius says. Not really super thirsty either way, you say. Claudius stares at you. Can we fence now? You say. The fencing match begins. Laertes moves towards you, sword at the ready. What do you do? Go for his upper body. You decide to attack his upper body but hesitate. Maybe the lower body is better after all. He wouldn't be expecting it. You're about to change your mind and attack the lower body when you get hit on the back of the head with a piece of dirt. The audience is heckling you with dirt. This makes you mad, which makes you attack his upper body after all. You jab and thrust towards Laertes' upper body. He deftly parries, blocking your every attack and returning them with attacks of his own, using your own momentum against you. This isn't as easy as it was on the pirate ship. It seems like Laertes really knows what he's doing. Every time it looks like you might make a hit, Claudius seems really excited and raises his glass. Wow, this is one thirsty usurper to the throne. Finally, and not without quite a bit of luck, you land a glancing blow on Laertes' left shoulder. Got you, you say.
Nuh-uh.
He says. Ref, you say.
Am I the ref?
Says Osric.
I am? Oh. Yeah, that was a hit. Palpably so.
Hooray!
Claudius says.
Let's drink. Hamlet, come drink with me. Look, I put a foreign substance in your drink.
I'm in the middle of fencing here, Claudius, you say. Claudius looks crestfallen. He lowers the drink as the fencing match begins again. Go for lower body. You aim for his lower body, and Laertes is unprepared for this, and you totally score a hit right away. Nice. Got you, you say.
Okay, you got me.
Laertes says.
Our son will win.
Says Claudius calmly. Hello, I'm not your son, you shout in reply. Just then, your mom calls you fat and lazy and offers you a napkin to rub off your sweat because she thinks you're so fat you're already sweating out of your forehead from just one little fight. Whoa, where'd that come from? What the butt, Mom? You say. Where'd that come from?
Whatever.
She says, and holds up the goblet Claudius poured for you.
Look, I'm ironically drinking to your good health and fortune.
Don't drink that.
Claudius says.
I drinks what I wants.
Your mom says. And then she does just that, drinking what she wants.
Ah, jeez. That's the poison cup. It's too late for you now.
Claudius says. Say, what? Pretend you didn't hear him. Really? You're gonna pretend you didn't hear your stepdad? The one you're here to take revenge on, I remind you? When he says he just poisoned your mother? When they invented Choose Your Own Path books, I'm pretty sure they were assuming you wouldn't choose to be insane. So thanks for proving them wrong, I guess. Okay, you ignore him. And since this is your adventure, everyone else ignores him too. Why not, right? You and Laertes continue your fight. At one point, Laertes says that what he's doing is almost against his conscience, which seems like a weird thing to say in a friendly, non-fatal fight like this, but you ignore that too. Hooray! Your ears are useless. You fight back and forth, and at one point your swords clash in front of you and there's a moment of silence as both of you try to overpower the other. This is your chance to say something awesome. Bring it on, you try to say as grimly and badassedly as possible. But somehow it comes out as, I pray you, pass with your best violence. I am afeard you make a wanton of me. So, oh well. Pushing as hard as you can, you manage to force Larity's sword aside. But in the fighting that ensues, he manages to cut you on your arm. Enraged, you break the rules of sword fighting just a little and kick his hand, sending his sword flying. In response, he kicks at your hand, sending your sword flying to the exact same spot. You both scramble towards the swords, trying to rearm yourselves. You grab the right sword while Larity's grabs the left. In the flurry of swordplay that ensues, you cut Larity's on his leg while at the same time, Larity's cuts your leg. It is a perfect symmetry. Fortunately for you, the sword you grabbed had poison on its tip. Life's full of surprises, huh? And this new surprise is that Larity's is now poisoned. Very soon, you're going to be responsible for an extremely public murder. But don't worry too much. Since it was Larity's sword that was poison-tipped in the first place, that means you too are poisoned from that earlier cut. Hooray! Okay, just to summarize real quick. You still haven't killed Claudius, but you have managed to poison your one-time, now dead, girlfriend's brother, get poisoned yourself, and allow your mother to be poisoned too. If you're wondering about your score, right now it's at, I don't know, negative 55,000 kilopoints? Gertrude collapses from the poison you ignored earlier, and feigning ignorance you say, "How's the queen?" And Claudius says,
She fainted because you guys are bleeding.
and she says,
No, I'm poisoned from the drink.
and then she dies. "We've been betrayed," you shout. And then feigning ignorance again, you shout, "Quick, lock the doors. Let's find out who did it." Larity's, a man who is dying as we speak, is thus forced to spend his last few moments alive explaining to you very clearly and with no big words that your mother was poisoned by the king. He also explains to you that you've been poisoned too, but I already told you that. It's too bad too, because he said it very nicely, all,
Hamlet, thou art slain. No medicine in the world can do thee good.
while I was all, wooby wooby woo, jokes, jokes, jokes. No, I am paraphrasing. Anyway, now is your absolute last chance. You have a poisoned sword in your hand, and Claudius is sitting here in front of you. You will be dead in one turn. What do you do? Last chance, Hamlet. Kill Claudius. Don't kill Claudius. Yes! Yes! Finally, you are killing Claudius. Oh my god, finally. Oh my god!
Oh my
Okay,
god.
let's do this. You stab Claudius a few times with the poisoned sword, but man, poison is slow and you've already got it in your system. So then you pick up the poison goblet and force it down his throat, all the while calling him an incestuous, murderous goddamn Dane. Wow. I mean, it's a little racist, at least partially self-racist too. So, irony. But still, wow. It's a huge dose of poison, and he dies instantly. What's that? You didn't know poison worked that way? Well, that's weird because I'm pretty sure it just did. Meanwhile, as the poison starts to kill you, Larity's forgives you for the deaths you've caused, and asks you to forgive him of the same, and you do it. It's actually pretty classy. Then you call Horatio over. Horatio, you say. Don't be crazy and chug the poison too. It's your job to tell everyone my story so people know what really happened. You need to tell the people. Okay, says Horatio, glancing at the surrounding crowd which has already seen this all go down. Oh, and write it down when you do, so future generations will know, you say. Okay, says Horatio. Oh, and make it one of those choose-your-own-adventure dealies, you say. I love those. Right, says Horatio. Suddenly you hear an army marching in. Osric runs in and says that Fortinbras is here and marching on the capital with some English ambassadors. Remember Fortinbras? He's that Norwegian crown prince whose father died and who decided right away to take action. He's almost like a parallel to you, only, you know, better. Anyway, you're not going to survive long enough to talk to him. You're actually not going to survive long at all. It's time, Hamlet, to choose your last words to Horatio. Well, last words ever, really. Oh, I die, Horatio. The potent poison quite o'crows my spirit. I cannot live to hear the news from England, but I do prophesy the election lights on Fortinbras. He has my dying voice, so tell him, with the occurrence more and less, which have solicited, the rest is silence. Oh, 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 oh. Don't let it end like this. Tell them I said something. Horatio, I should have trusted you sooner. Listen well. There's a ship named Calypso's Gale outside the harbor that can help you defeat Fortinbras. Her crew is brave and her captaincy shared by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Go and tell them what happened. With my last breath, I ask you do me one last solid. Save Denmark.
One last solid. What do we do? Well, we know what happens here. Let's do this one.
Okay, Horatio says, and you die. You are now Horatio.
I'm not Horatio?
You rush out of the castle and down to the docks, where you swim out to Calypso's Gale and are pulled aboard by the crew. You explain to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern what's happened, and they launch a surprise attack on Fortinbras' ship, sinking her easily. When Fortinbras runs out of the castle and down to the docks, you have spider shot fired at him. One large cannon with 8 smaller cannonballs attached to it. When fired, it spins and tears through basically everything, including Fortinbras' body. It is awesome. And he gets totes obliterated. War breaks out between Denmark and Norway. You and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are instrumental in Denmark's eventual victory. And yeah, I'm going over things super quickly here, but this was supposed to be like Ophelia's story or Hamlet's story. And honestly, I've always liked you, Horatio, but I'm already bending the rules like crazy by letting you have your own little adventure here. So we've got to end it somewhere. You be good, my friend. No, you know what? Scratch that. You be great. The end.
Yay! I wish there was more illustrations in the middle. Seriously? That's it? I'll have to admit that this adventure, it was a little bit long, a little bit winded. It's okay. You know, I wish there were more choices for you to do, but it's okay. I'll replay it one or two more times just to choose different things. But yeah, I like it enough. I am hot stuff. But yeah, it's okay. It was good for, I guess, $1.50, especially since, you know, a couple of the other games I got were like on deals and free and stuff. So someone's got to pay the voice actor, right? Bladed weapons, poison 2. High fives given 1. Nap snap 1. Poisons misused 8. Stabby stabs 4. Puns 8 puns. Stockings befouled. Tasteless sexism. Choices made 104. No, not really. Couldn't have been 104 because a lot of them were like one-hit choices. No. Times you were you. Times you were not. We're gonna run through the credits then. That's pretty fast. It's funny as hell. There were like no illustrators. There's like barely anything, barely any of the drawings were ever shown. That's BS. That's complete BS. Illustrators. Look at all these illustrators for nothing. Nothing. Stupid. What do you need all these illustrators? Seriously? Did like each person do each little drawing? Map. There's a map? What map? Audiobook direction, narration, Matt Yantha. Thank you, Matt Yantha. You did a great job. You really did. Ooh, music and sound effects sourced by audioblock.com. Might have to go to audioblock.com and check it out. That was kind of fun, but okay, so let's see, where are we here? QA testing. So yeah, what we're gonna do here is I bought, if you saw on the Discord, I did buy the other fighting fantasy games that I said were on sale. I bought them. I had to because they only boiled down to like $1.20 each or something like that. So I had to buy them. So we're gonna definitely do that. We'll definitely do that on probably Wednesday. Tomorrow is going to be Special thanks, William Shakespeare. Yes, thank you, William Shakespeare. Thank you so much for your originality. It's too funny. But yeah, tomorrow's going to be Drop Mix because the new Harmonix game comes out tomorrow. So we'll be playing for the last time, playing or mixing music with Drop Mix, and how much money I dropped on Drop Mix cards. Oh my god. Yeah, so the Fighting Fantasy, let's see if we can do this. Uses Open Dyslexic font. Okay, dyslexic fonts. So yeah, I bought, definitely want to do that stuff. Restart the adventure. All right. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is that since I played, let's see, definitely, okay, so just like a recap, I want to do Death Trap Dungeon and go through another run through there. Thank you. Oh my god. So yeah, definitely do another run on Death Trap Dungeon, go through House of Hell via the video game because it's a little bit easier than what we had been doing before, but I still have to read it, which is fine. There's no narration. And what was the other one? The one thing that my stepson and I were playing was Appointment with Fear. That one was a funny one just because of the way it was written. It was written back in the 80s, so you could tell it was, you know, what were the cartoons? Spider-Man and his Super Friends, and then what was it? The DC Super Friends Hall of Justice versus Legion of Doom type of writing. It's awesome. Plus, at the same time, it does pick at the real DC and Marvel universe. Definitely have to do that. That'll be later on this week. But yeah, there's so many things. I still have to get back and continue Card Apocalypse, but so I'll see if I can come up with a schedule for this week. And I'm hoping from last week, if you remember, I had a phone call about a job interview, and I'm still waiting for them to get back to me, for the recruiter to say that, oh, you know, that the employer wants to give me an interview. Still waiting on that, but yeah, we'll see. This week, I definitely want to get through those games. Exactly, too many games, but you know, I would not have known about. I would not know. I've known about these games, or at least the Fighting Fantasy. I knew about Choose Your Own Adventure. Those are cool, but yeah, the Fighting Fantasy is a lot better, I think, and I wouldn't have known about that if it weren't for you, Bill Beto. Thank you so much. But yeah, because of that, I have to play through Card Apocalypse. Oh, nice.
I gotta go training now.
I think I go.
Now I just need to know where exactly it is. I was there last year, I forgot.
Well, it's been a year, so I would imagine you forget. All right, guys, I am ending it here. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bill Beto. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody and all the supporters. Yeah, unfortunately, there's only one other streamer that does this, but they're never on when I'm on, so there's no one to raid. Thanks a lot, guys. No, it's that one.
Oh,